Well, we get it rolling on the Krueger Show after Warrior basketball as the season comes to a bitter end tonight in Game 6 at the Crypto. The Lakers get the win. The Warriors are done. The Lakers are moving on to the next round against, most likely, was it the Denver Nuggets? I like the Nuggets. I like the Nuggets next round. But the Warriors tonight lose 122-101. Just an ugly thud ending to this run for this Warrior team. We're going to get into it. We're brought to you, of course, by Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in Marin County from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. They're open Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville, inside the Emeryville Public Marketplace. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California, brings you the Krueger Show. All right, we get things rolling here on the Krueger Show. Blank jumps in with the first chat of the show saying, Klay finished the series 9 for his last 42. That speaks volumes. Well, welcome to the Krueger Show. Bay Area baller in the middle square up top. Dan Coach Emilio up top as well, wearing the white Adidas hat. Bottom row, Carl Foster stops by. Big Frank Red's in the house. We hope to hear from Cyrus Satsis after his lockdown. I'm sure Cy will be properly bitter. The great Damon Bruce will also stop by. John Dickinson, who I don't know if I'm going to be here for JD tonight. JD goes late on 95.7, and then last night, our last game, I've said goodbye to everybody. I've played my last commercial. I'm about ready to hit the thing. Boom, there he is. And I wind up doing another 45 minutes with JD. That will not fucking happen tonight, I guarantee you. But anyway, this one was ugly, guys, and there's all kinds of things we can talk about. Is the Warrior dynasty over? Who stays? Who goes? What the hell, Jordan Poole? What the hell, Klay Thompson? What the hell, Andrew Wiggins? But this one is so frustrating because if the Lakers had come out and played some awesome game, I'd tip my cap to them. But the Warriors just missed. They just missed. They had open shots, and they just missed. And you know what? I felt like a prophet saying to you guys last post game that my biggest fear for Game 6 was that Klay Thompson would try to recreate Game 6 Klay, gun up way too many shots, and shoot them out of it. And literally that's what fucking happened. Klay Thompson, 3 of 19, 2 of 12 from beyond the arc. Wiggins was almost as bad. Didn't make a 3, took 8 shots, made 2 all night. Jordan Poole, just total non-factor. Jordan Poole, after last round against Sacramento, he had a couple good games. This round, he played good game in Game 1, 21 points. After Game 1, 6, 5, 0, 11, and tonight 7. He shot 3 of 10, 0 from 3 from beyond the arc. That's really it. I mean, we can point to a bunch of things. I'll tell you the other thing that's amazing about this game, looking at the box score, Golden State had 28 more field goal attempts than the Lakers. 28 more shots than the Lakers, and they still got beat by 20. Golden State was just awful from 3. 13 of 45 or 46, 27%, while the Lakers shot 50% from the arc. And then we also talked about free throws. It needed to be close for the Warriors to have a chance. The Lakers shot 42 free throws. The Warriors shot 14. The Lakers shot 28 more free throws. It's not the reason. It wasn't the refs. I'm not saying it's the refs. I'm just saying that is a ridiculous disparity. All right, guys, what stood out to you? I mean, this thing, it was end of first quarter. The first quarter, Lakers came out, built up a big lead, but it was still 31-26 at the end of the first quarter. despite the fact Klay Thompson shot 1 of 8 in that first quarter. It was Lakers by 10 at the half, 56-46 after Reeves hit the deep three at the buzzer that Jordan Poole, for whatever reason, just said, I don't need to contest that, and didn't, and that went. So the Warriors were down 10 at the half, and then end of the third quarter, it was 91-77 Lakers, and of course they go on for the 122-101 victory, and the Lakers are moving on. Give me your takeaways. Let's go around the room. Baller, go ahead.
I mean, the Splash Bros, 6 of 26 from three-point range. It's hard to win a game when your two snipers are just missing. And not only that, the Warriors got flat out bullied. The Lakers, they were the better, bigger, more physical team, and it showed up. They were getting whatever shot they wanted at will, kicking out to open shooters. LeBron, I mean, it was a vintage LeBron performance. I thought he was spectacular tonight. Looking at his numbers, 10 of 14 from the field, 8 of 11 from the line, 30 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. I mean, LeBron was the best player on the court tonight. This was the first time in my life I had thought kind of coming into the game, even go that LeBron had kind of lost a step, like he was good, but maybe he had lost a step. No, not tonight. It was a vintage performance. And we had talked about how, AD and LeBron were going to get theirs and how the Warriors needed to limit some of these role players. And it didn't happen. Austin Reeves with 23, D'Angelo Russell, 19. I mean, it was just bad on multiple levels. Just a really disappointing loss. That's all I got.
Danny?
Yeah, that about says it all.
That says it all. Carl?
There are two things. Number one, the urgency and the electricity of how we're going to come at a road game, game 6 closeout game, just did not look to be apparent for the Warriors in the first 6 minutes of the ball game. There was a casualness that I don't think was a byproduct of a lack of preparation. I think it was just clearly they just couldn't get their sea legs, and when their sea legs did not show up, we could see it in their shooting. You could see the Lakers felt like, hey, we can kind of take control. The Lakers' first 6 possessions were all handled within 13 feet of the basket. The only one that wasn't in the lane was a D'Angelo Russell fadeaway off the left block. And that really started the game off. Needless to say, Baller said it quite well. When you go 6 for 26 with the 2 best shooters all time, from the deep perimeter, you're probably not going to have a great night. But the grinding of the second unit guys, DiVincenzo, Moody, GP2, the effort he gave, Looney, what he gave, was really, really good. And you could see that they could chip it away. But every time the Warriors got ready to try to make the run, to try to take the lead and really kind of establish some tempo themselves, they just couldn't knock down enough open shots.
Yeah, I hate to simplify it, Foss, but I think you're right. I mean, the bottom line is the Lakers executed their game plan a lot better than the Warriors did. It was a focused attack by the Lakers to get to the basket. I'm sure all these practices, they would tell these guys, don't settle for any jump shots. Let's soften these guys up first. And that's what they did. And from the Warriors' perspective, hey, man, it was disappointing to see what I was watching because our frame of reference always wants to go back to the Warriors at their best. But the reality is it's a year-to-year proposition. And I remember when James Worthy was in year 13, 14, and we remember Big Game James. When his skill level started to erode, it was a precipitous drop. I mean, literally 2 years later, he was out of the league because he didn't have it anymore. And, hey, man, the one thing that I take away from this particular game is I looked at the veterans' body language, the Clays, the Stephs, the Draymond, and they handled themselves like the Hall of Famers that we know they are. They just didn't have it. They couldn't run their offense. So Kerr reluctantly put the ball in Steph's hand and said, yo, go out there and run pick and roll. Because had they ran their offense with Klay and the rest of those guys shooting the way they did, they would have been down 30 at halftime. They were down 10, and emblematic of Jordan Poole, he kind of waved at the guy. There's a big difference psychologically from being down 10 and being down 7, but that's what this team is about. My biggest disappointment for this team is their inability to develop their young players. And, the coaching staff has to own a lot of that, because that was frustrating to the fans. It was frustrating to me. And ultimately, it hurt the veteran players. And that was on display tonight.
Too small, too thin. The Warriors are too small of a team. They need more size. And they were way too thin. And this is what happens when you kind of, you don't develop what Frank just said. I mean, you don't develop your young talent. You had an 82-game schedule to develop Kuminga and Moody and get them to be big-time rotation players, and they weren't. You didn't do it. You played Lamb. You played other guys. DiVincenzo had a nice game today, for sure. He bounced back. But, Jordan Poole doesn't look like he even knows what he's trying to get done out there. In the last, how many free throw attempts did a 95% free throw shooter even take in this series? What did he take, 5?
Larry, they stopped attacking the rim. Anthony Davis blocked like 11 shots in the first 3 games combined. And it was 11 blocked shots by Anthony. They stopped attacking the rim.
But you know what? I would have said to Jordan, keep attacking the rim, try to jam it. If you're going to go if you're going to try to go around the trees, he's probably going to block your shot. You just take it right to the front of the rim and try to throw it down. He can either block it clean or he can foul you. But when you're not shooting it and you're that good of a free throw shooter and you're on a team that has this many guys who can shoot threes and this many and very few guys who can put it on the deck and go to the hole, you got to understand what you can do to help your team win. I don't think Jordan Poole understands that at all. And then, I'll tell you, there's something we got green light in this series too. It's like Green. I don't know if it's because he's going to play with LeBron next year, but he's smiling at the end and he's helping up AD, and he wasn't quite the ferocious competitor Draymond in this series. Not that was the big thing. I don't want to point to that because Draymond elevated while several of the people on this team just evaporated. But it wasn't killer Draymond. It wasn't killer Draymond. Wiggins is, people talk about, oh God, Wiggins this, Wiggins that. And if you can find a deal for Wiggins that you like, I got no problem moving Wiggins. I'm not a Wiggins guy.
That's kind of tough though, Larry. The guy played tonight with injured ribs. He was wearing some kind of flak jacket on his body. Yeah. It's very clear he couldn't be as aggressive. Early in the game, LeBron was posting him up from the same side and hitting him with sluggos right in that soft spot. He competed his butt off.
Beyond play, though,
he missed open shots, though. He missed wide open looks. He got a bunch of open looks. He missed them. So I know. Yeah, he's hurt, whatever. But still not impressed. And Klay Thompson, he really shot him out of it. Exactly what I said the other night. Exact thing happened. He was 3 of 19. 3 of 19. That's atrocious. And I'm looking at Klay's points. He averaged 20.6 in the Sacramento series. He got 25 in game 1 against the Lakers, 30 in game 2. And then from that point on, just worse. 15 in game 3, 9 in game 4, 10 in game 5, 8 in game 6 on 3 of 19 shooting. 19 shots when it ain't going. It's like,
but who else is going to shoot it though, Larry? They didn't have any shooters, but they were.
You don't have, hey Danny, you don't have to take 12 threes.
Then what do you
12 threes?
They were open though. They were open looks.
What would you want him to do? He took open shots.
I said it the other night. What I wanted him to do. I want him to take squared up twos.
He can't get there though.
That's where he can. That's where he lives. That's where he needs to live right now. That's his game right now. He's not. They're all hitting the front rim, Carl. They're all hitting. They're all short. He needs to come in closer.
He had bad games. The guy led the NBA in 3-point makes.
I don't care. This is May. He obviously doesn't have his legs. How many times are you going to hit the front rim before you move in closer? You can't take 12 of your 19 shots from beyond the arc when you're not hitting from beyond the arc.
That's not how their offense is built, Larry.
Well, he's got to take twos. How their offense is built, Carl, is they're going home. I mean, they're going home.
They got beat by a better team.
Yeah, they did. They got beat by a better team. The Lakers.
They should not have taken. He should not have taken 12 of his 19 shots from 3. He should have taken 12 from 2.
But they were open looks, Larry. They're open.
He hit more shots from 3 again than he hit from 2.
I'm just saying. He to me, his looks from 2.
He did not shoot the ball well.
No, he didn't shoot the ball well, but he forced too many threes and too many early threes. And I said it the other night. I said, Klay's going to come out in the first quarter, and he's going to hunt game 6 Klay, and it's going to shoot him right out of it. And sure enough, they're down early in the first quarter. He shot 1 of 8 from beyond. He shot 1 of 8.
Open shots.
Yeah, they were open. I mean,
he missed.
I don't care. You can't hit the front rim that many times, Carl, and take that many shots. He's not Klay anymore. He's not the same guy anymore. He shouldn't have taken that many shots tonight.
Then you have to put somebody.
Sometimes that's the thing. When you live by the 3, you die by the 3. He hit 8 in game 2. You're just gonna. Some nights you're gonna be off.
In game 1,
he's been off for the last 3 games. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but his point total has been horrendous. He's had 8, 10, and 9. He hasn't even had 12 points. He hasn't even had 15 since game 3. My point is you could see this coming a long way away. You could see this coming a long way away. He's hitting the front rim.
Offensively, what would you have done offensively? Take Klay off the floor if he's not making shots. What do you do offensively to get other guys going?
Well, first of all, you've already banished Kuminga and Moody to status where you've kind of wasted them. So they don't at this point. There wasn't a lot to do. Why? Because their team was very thin and their team was very small. They need to have more size, and they need to have more size, and they need to have more depth. And unfortunately, they had Kuminga in the rotation. He fell out of the rotation. They had Lamb in the rotation. They took him out of the rotation. They had Moody going at the end of the year. He was hit and miss. Poole evaporated. I mean, by the end of this series, they're really like a 6-man, 7-man team. Today they got a nice little bench performance out of DiVincenzo. Looney was strong off the bench rebounding, but that's it. That's it. Steph was there was only 2 guys in the Warriors in double figures.
Lakers played good. They're the number 1 defensive team in the league. So the Lakers, Michael Thompson was right. He said the Warriors need a big man. They're going to miss having a big man.
For what?
Because
the Warriors were the best. Even if the Lakers are the best defensive team in the league, that's not what won them the game. The Warriors missed open shots.
They have an unconventional offense, and
yes, they do.
Defense wins. It's always won, and that's the reality of it. The one thing that Klay doesn't understand, and he didn't have to when he was, game 6 Klay and in his prime. He's not his prime anymore. Klay doesn't really understand time and sequence. When the ball touches Klay's hand and he assesses that it is a good shot, the ball goes up. Now, in previous years, that's fine because the ball also was going in. But when you're not shooting at a high clip, maybe you make the extra pass. Klay generally doesn't do that. Klay doesn't really – I know he can't get all the way to the basket, but he can take a dribble or two beyond the three-point line sometimes. I'm not saying don't shoot, but there are some things that he's going to have to do in the summer to expand his offensive game. Just running to the corner, running to the three-point line from a pass from Steph or whomever, that's not working right now unless he just becomes a different player than he was this year, because he has to shoot at a 40% clip, because defensively he's not the same player. Dan said it earlier. The fact that D'Angelo Russell and even Austin Reeves, I like him. He's a second-year guy. He should not be scoring 25 points against a guy who is a, quote, legitimate defensive player. So there's a lot there that needs to be fixed by next year. It can get better, but Game 6 Klay, vintage Klay, those days are gone, man.
Yeah, but see, Klay's never said he was Game 6 Klay.
Well, forget about Game 6 Klay.
Who he is.
I just said that. Klay, the shooter that he was, one of the best shooters in the NBA, he's not that player. He's not. And offensively or defensively, he's not that player. He's still good. He's still good. He's still a winner. I love him. But he's not that guy who can just raise up those shots after the first catch. He has to look for the next pass. He got to drive. He has to change his game a little bit.
And we have to look at this. The Warrior lineup was built where they have 3 primary scorers and 1 secondary scorer. The secondary scorer being Wiggins. He kind of gets 17 points without really having a whole bunch run for him, maybe 2 or 3 sets a game. They have 3 20-point scorers. In this series, the Los Angeles Lakers shut down 2 of them. That's what this series came down to. That was how the Warriors win basketball games. That's how they play. And the Lakers found a way to disintegrate 2 of their 20-point guys by keeping Klay from being able to get as many open looks as he could. Tonight he got open looks and he just couldn't find it. And that happens. At the end of the day, you play how you play. Because if they bring in a big man, they don't play that way. So bringing in a big man isn't going to be the answer. They could get longer defensively with guys coming off the bench, but they would have needed somebody like JaMychal Green to actually be consistent in this series.
I think they did need a big man to help with guarding Davis defensively. I mean,
who would you bring in? Give me an example of a guy that fits.
Well, it's kind of unfair right now.
Well, to me,
but he brought it up.
I thought they made a mistake years ago letting JaVale McGee go, and just because he helped them offensively. They have no lob threat anymore. 0.
I mean, Andre Drummond was relatively cheap. That was a guy in the offseason. I thought.
I mean, the bottom line is you don't have to defend the rim against the Warriors, and this I don't want to hear about the Lakers defense. Don't tell me about the Lakers defense. I watched the Warriors just miss a bunch of open shots. It wasn't the Lakers defense that beat them tonight. It was the Warriors missing a bunch of open shots, and Klay Thompson telling himself that he's the old Klay. If I asked you guys the other night, guys, biggest game of the year, Game 6 in LA, how many threes do you want for Steph? How many threes do you want for Klay?
Well,
I think Steph, you would probably.
He was 4 of 14 too.
Right, but I think I would want. Klay. I don't think I would want, after watching Klay Thompson shoot the ball, I don't think I would want Klay Thompson taking almost the exact same number of threes as Steph. Klay Thompson has been hitting the front rim a ton, and he's rushing threes. He's taking huge heat check threes, and tonight, I mean. There was many times where he could have put it on the deck and got in the 15-foot range, squared up the shoulders and knocked that down. That's got to be more of his game down the road. And it's high percentage. It can be high percentage, but he's hunting glory days. He's hunting yesteryear, and the 2 of them wind up taking 26 threes and making 6. But Steph, I mean, after Thompson shot it so poorly. At times in this series, it's like it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And it's like, hey, you're getting more and more fatigued. And how many? It's not like he's missing these off to the side or to the back rim. They're all hitting the front rim. He's just short. He's not getting his legs into it, and he needed to shoot more 2s. And instead, he he settled for a lot of threes, and they were down by the time. I mean, and I don't know what the future holds as far as this team goes, because Jermichael Green's a free agent, he's gone. Iguodala's a free agent, he's gone. DiVincenzo's got a $4.7 million player option. He'll probably opt out. Jordan Poole is due to make $28.7 million. I think there's a high likelihood he's traded. Draymond Green, I think, may opt out. He's got a $27.5 million player option. We don't know about the future of Myers. I don't know about the future of Kerr. Klay doesn't look anything like Klay, and there's no way the Warriors or any other team is going to give him anything approaching a max deal. So we may be seeing the end of the run here. And somebody the other day threw in the chat, what do you think of a Brent Berry, John Berry combo with one as the coach, one as the GM? I've heard worse combos, but I think we're on the verge of major foundation shakeup with the Warriors, and it's been a great run. Well, it was 4 titles in 8 years. It's been an incredible run. It's the greatest run in the history of the franchise.
4-9 now, yeah. But if you look, Larry, the Warriors were 13 of 48 tonight from the 3-point line. Lakers were 13 of 26. Right. 50% to 27. Had the Warriors made 7 more free threes and made a total of 20, that's 21 more points, and they had 28 less free throws. They lost by what? 21. So had the Warriors just made some of their threes and not fouled so much,
but they were open threes, so it wasn't like, oh my God,
that's
the
what
Lakers.
I'm saying. They
just
didn't
missed
hit.
Open threes.
They missed a lot of shots, and that's going to happen. You remember Houston, the time they missed 27 in a row in Game 7 against the Warriors a few years back. So some nights shots go in, some nights they don't. They don't shoot well at the Forum when they're playing the Lakers or whatever.
And Dan, let me piggyback off that, because I did the numbers on Steph and Klay, their 3-point percentage in the 3 games at Crypto. Steph in the 3 games at Crypto, 11 of 38 from distance, 29%. Klay, 8 of 30, 27%.
Yeah, they shoot horrible there. They always have. Klay's done a little better in the past, but Steph, I remember Steph, I think he went 0 for 10 one game there, or maybe one. Maybe he made one, but he's struggled in his career when they play the Lakers. Not so much against the Clippers, but I don't know what it is. And he struggled when they were crappy, like when the Lakers were the worst team in the league.
Yeah, but I mean, they can have bad shooting nights and still win. The bottom line is they're not a balanced team. Defensively, the Lakers developed the game plan and they went through the Warriors. Yeah, if Ham had seen those guys come out and hoisted threes consistently, he would have called timeout and cussed every last one of them out, because the game plan was to get the ball inside. If you can't throw it to Anthony Davis, drive the ball inside. That's what they were doing. I mean, if you look at the Warrior teams of the past that were really good, they never had a post guy who was scoring 30, but they had good interior defensive players. Bogut 7'1", 7'2".
David West.
They had interior defense. Draymond was one of their good interior defensive players. He wasn't the only one. Looney barely played early on. So this team needed to develop Wiseman. Everybody can say he can't play. Well, then you shouldn't have drafted him and drafted somebody else. That was a colossal failure by the Golden State Warriors, because whether or not he succeeds somewhere else is really irrelevant. The guy was 7'1" with size, and he needed to be developed. And that is the one thing that I look at this team going forward that is not going to be easy to fix, because they're not going to be able to play this perimeter-oriented deep offense like they have in previous years, because the shooting is starting to erode. So that balance needs to be there, and it's not there.
They really got to find some bigger player. I mean, they were, to me, I mean, their lack of size that's kind of been a consistent theme. Even when they've had some big players, they've still had size issues at times. But to me, it's the lack of depth. When you don't have anybody else you can go to, there's not a lot you can do. I mean, the Warriors ran in the regular season. They used Kuminga and Lamb and Jerome and
their
Moody.
depth was weaker this year.
By the time they got to the playoffs, it was like none of those guys had a role. And
it's going to get weaker too because of the new CBA. They're not going to be able to trade future ones to get better players. They're not going to be able to
mid-level exception.
Yeah, they're going to be in trouble. This new CBA is designed to stop dynasties. And they're going to have to run it back probably with the big three again. I see him running back with Klay, Draymond, and obviously Steph. There was a comment you had up earlier there. I can't remember who it was from. I think it was Tammy, something about get rid of Bob Myers and Kerr. What a stupid comment that is. Why would you get rid of Kerr and Myers like they're the problem?
Well, I don't think you have to get rid of them. They're going to get rid of themselves.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're not going to get rid. These guys created this. I mean, why? You're not going to win every year. I mean, the fact that they won 4 world championships in the last 8 is unbelievable, and they could have had a 5th if Durant and Klay didn't go down.
But Danny, that's just the nature of sports fans.
Sure
I mean, it's the nature of the way this thing works.
Why would you get rid of like Steve Kerr and
But
Bob
I mean,
Myers?
Here's the bottom line: if you don't win, I mean, Budenholzer was the coach of the year a couple of years ago. He's now looking for a gig.
Yeah,
I mean, they're Nick Nurse. I can remember Nick Nurse being the toast of the NBA not that long ago. Isn't he out of a gig? So it's life in the NBA.
Yeah, it's not the time though. They're not. If they want to walk away themselves,
but I mean,
fine.
Hey, you know what? You can make an argument. I mean, I can make a very compelling argument that Bob Myers made some screwed up decisions. I mean, you were at the trade deadline. You couldn't add a single big. You're at the buyout market. You don't think any size would help you? And we're sitting here talking about their lack of size.
I thought
where was the move for Kevin Love? Where was the move for Nerlens Noel? Where was the move for any size at all? I mean, they didn't get burned, but they very easily could have gotten burned because they really only had Kevon Looney inside. If Kevon Looney just pulls a hamstring in the last round, they don't even get out of that round against Sacramento. Correct. And their incredible lack of depth up front is shows itself. Instead, he played every game. He was incredibly healthy, and they still lack size. But I mean, I think that even though I like Myers, and I think Myers is a good executive, and I like Kerr, I think Kerr is an outstanding coach. It's not like you couldn't say that it's time for them to move on. I mean, there's a shelf life. I mean, Dusty Baker talked about it. He's like, you know what? Eventually, after a certain amount of time, guys get tired of hearing your voice. And let's be honest. Steve Kerr or any NBA coach, you're largely a motivator. There are no X's and O's wrinkles, really. Come on, everybody's doing basically the same stuff. Nobody's like, oh my God, this guy's offense is just incredible. Or this guy's a defensive coordinator and he's like the Buddy Ryan of the NBA. It doesn't exist. It's a players' league. So it's not like they have some scheme that's like, oh my God, they can't possibly move on from these guys. You could make an argument that Kerr is a really good coach and made a lot of bad decisions this year. You can make an argument that Myers is one of the NBA's better GMs, and yet he by the end of the year, you just heard Legler say it on SportsCenter. The Warriors are incredibly small and incredibly thin, and yet they have $192 million payroll. So if I'm Joe Lacob, I'm like, Bob, I'm giving you the highest payroll in the entire league. We've got one of the smallest teams and one of the thinnest teams. What gives? So, I mean, I understand your natural inclination is to be like, hey, Kerr's great, man, but Myers is great. But you know what? It's what have you done for me lately? And
they won a championship last year.
No, I hear you, but I mean, I'm just saying that's just the way it goes. I mean, you're going to have criticism. Just because you won a title last year doesn't mean you're not subjected to criticism this year. I I mean, it's as simple as that. But Bruce Bochy is a great manager. The Giants ran him out after 3 World Series. So, I mean, were they right to do it? Well, some people would argue they were right to do it because he was coming off of a terrible year. But I would say, yeah, you know what? Boch is still pretty good. And I'm not saying that Kerr is the problem or Myers is the problem. I'm just saying get used to people saying, you know what? The run's over and those guys need to go and they didn't have a great year. And it's not like those people have nothing they can point to. They have things they can point to.
Well, I can tell you this:
that they're not happy about.
If Kerr and Myers both decided to leave and take their show elsewhere, and they wanted to team up, there'd be about 25 teams in the league teaming up to grab both of them as a package.
Yeah, but ultimately it doesn't matter because nobody wins with their coach and their GM. You win because if you have the players, and the Warriors don't have the players. Yeah, if Kerr and Myers go to a team that has awesome players, yeah, they might win a title. But it does, just because they go to any team, it's not like it's not football. It's not like it's not Mahomes and Andy Reid moving on. It's guys. I'm not saying they don't have an impact. I'm just saying.
But what would you so you think that Kerr?
I'm just saying it's not totally crazy talk to be critical of Steve Kerr or Bob Myers. I think you can be critical of those guys. The Warriors Bob Myers made some incredible moves. I mean, moving D'Lo and getting Kuminga and Wiggins for D'Lo, that was a great move. One of the best moves he's ever made. He's the guy who drafted Draymond Green. He's the guy who drafted all these guys. Well, he didn't draft Steph or Klay, but you know what I'm saying. He put together this cast, but it doesn't mean that he's made nothing but good moves. I mean, Patrick McCaw, the kid from Cincinnati, Jacob Evans. I mean, they've swung and missed. Heck, I mean, I'll say this. I think one of the mistakes they probably made this year was listening too much to their players. Because I think their players were the ones who motivated them to move off of Wiseman. But I don't think they should have listened to their players. I think they should have flipped the bird to their players and said, you know what? Figure it out. You guys figure it out. We're not going to devalue our franchise by trading a 21-year-old 7-footer for a 30-year-old defensive guard. And that's what they did. If they had listened to the players, they would have had Avery Bradley.
Larry, would you have rather had James Wiseman in this series or Gary Payton II?
I'd rather have James Wiseman because I lost this series, and I'd rather have James Wiseman going forward than Gary Payton.
And you believe that with James Wiseman, you wouldn't have lost this series?
No, I didn't say that. But you have a 21-year-old center who I think you could have gotten more for down the road than what you got. And I think that move was totally about. It was made in name to like, oh, look, we're going for it for Steph Curry. No, it was about saving Joe Lacob $37 million. That's what that trade was about. And that's fine if Joe's spent a lot of money, and $37 million is a lot of money. And so I'm not saying that I'm not aware of that, but you can't sit there and say that you're light years ahead if you prioritized $37 million over your future. You drafted this guy with the second pick overall. You didn't really give him much of a chance to develop, and then you moved him for a 30-year-old 2-guard with injury problems, all in the name of going for it this year. A player that you could have re-signed and should have re-signed for $8 million, that you made that mistake. So to me, they just compounded their mistake. Now, would they have won with James Wiseman? No, but they would have I think James Wiseman has more trade value in the future than Gary Payton.
Would you say that James Wiseman has more value than DeAndre Ayton?
No.
Because he got paid a bucket load of money, and Phoenix is now hanging on to an albatross. Yes, they did not deal with that deal very well last year, but big centers in today's perimeter-oriented game have to have a unique temperament and a unique ability to fit into the way and the structure in which the game is played. It's played much faster, not slower. The Lakers are one of the few teams that'll try to pound you out. And that's good on Darvin Ham's plate because for him, that's the way they can play and try to be successful. But go ahead, Red.
No, I'm just going to – no, I mean, I think you're right. I think the game has changed. But I point to my New York Knicks, all right? They developed Mitchell Robinson. He's not the best player in the world. But when I look at a guy like Wiseman, they have Mitchell Robinson do a couple of things. Now, Wiseman is not the instinctive shot blocker that Robinson is. No, but they don't ask Robinson to do a lot. They asked him to do a couple of things. I just think the Warriors could have done a much better job with Wiseman because I saw Hartenstein play with the Denver Nuggets, right? He's a better player with the Knicks. He's active on defense. He boxes out. He challenges shots. He runs up and down the court. Those are the things that Wiseman could have done. Hartenstein is not that much more talented than James Wiseman, but fundamentally, he knows what he is supposed to do.
And that's the challenge with James right now.
And how much of that, I got a question, how much of that is coachable and how much of that is an innate ability? Because my biggest gripe with Wiseman is he does not attack the glass. Shot goes up, he's just watching it. Or he's going back in transition.
I think it's more coachable, to be honest. You can't overwhelm these big guys with a lot of things to do. The Warriors run a very sophisticated
complex offense.
Yep. And he got lost there.
Totally.
But he's a big guy. You telling me that you can't put a stop clock on him in practice and say, listen, your responsibility is to get from A to B in X amount of seconds. Those are habits that you develop. I look at the Knicks. I can point to a lot of teams because I watch it closely like that. The Toronto Raptors, in spite of Nick Nurse being fired, is an excellent coach because he develops players and he demands certain things from his guys. Not a lot. One or two things you have to do to wear that uniform. And the Warriors, from my perspective, said, you know what? You're going to sink or swim in what we do, as opposed to looking at him as a piece of clay and say, well, what does this guy do well? If it's one thing, go do that. He never did that. And in this playoffs,
he wants to score.
Yeah, but first of all, there's other ways to build his value. There's other ways to build his value. They mismanaged him to death. Come on, let's be honest. If they had stuck him in the, if they had, well, let me make my point. If they had stuck him in the G League, what do you think he would have done? He would have kicked ass. He eventually would have kicked ass. He would have put up double night after night after night, and people would have seen it, and then somebody would have wanted him. But instead, they played him there for a week, couple weeks. Then all of a sudden, we'll call him back up. When they called him back up, did he play? No. He sat on the bench and rotted on the bench.
Larry,
so all I'm saying is put him in the G League and let him pile up stats.
No, that doesn't do it. These people watch tape. They're not looking to see what a guy who was the number 2 pick, who's 7'1", who they know his strengths and weaknesses, what he can do in the G League. They're watching how the lack of instinct that he was showing. They're watching how defensively he struggles with rotations and doesn't block out very well and is very foul prone. He needs a lot of reps in a bad situation. He couldn't get a lot of reps here. They tried to make him Looney 2.0 and do what Red said. I love the way the two Knicks centers operate, but both of them are role players. James sees himself as a star, believes he's going to be a star, and one day I hope he does because I love the kid. I love his physical capabilities, but he just couldn't turn the light on consistently enough to play winning basketball.
You got intel. You obviously have intel because I'm just watching him as a player. I haven't talked to him. I don't know what he aspires to be. I don't know any of that. So I can't really assess that when I watch him. I can only watch him as a player because I haven't talked to him. I don't know people who actually knows him. And when I see him, he's just a basketball player. I'm looking for various things from him. And I never saw that. And that was disappointing because those things I'm looking for are coachable skills.
And you know what? He's not the only. He's not the
coach him.
only big man who's sitting there having a hard time adapting. There's all kinds of big men who are in the G League who are adapting and developing their skills. Heck, the guy that the Kings got out of Utah State, Kata's in the G League, running up and down. I mean, there was no law that said they had to do something with him. They moved him because they were going to save a boatload of cash for Joe. That's why they moved him. They moved him because Draymond and Steph and Klay didn't want to play with him. But guess what? Those guys also wanted Avery Bradley instead of GP2. And if you had listened to them on that, you would have looked stupid. So those guys don't always know. LeBron's the worst GM there's ever been. I mean, without Pelinka, the Lakers are a total joke. Because of LeBron James. Now, LeBron's the king, and LeBron knows basketball, but obviously he doesn't know enough about basketball because he wanted Russell Westbrook. He couldn't. He's not a GM. So all I'm saying is the Warriors. It's this year. Kerr clearly listened to his guys. He listened to Klay, and he listened to Draymond. He listened to Steph. He made them. He empowered them. And, you know, they made several moves that were not in the best interest of the team. They brought back Andre. Why? For what? And what did he do? I mean, he took a roster spot. They didn't make a trade at the deadline for any size. Didn't burn them because Looney was able to stay healthy, but they were remarkably thin. And Legler just said it at the end on the Sports Center to start the show tonight. He's like, the Warriors are incredibly thin and incredibly small. And they didn't have. They chose.
They were going to win the series in 6. They
What's
were
that?
small when he said they were going to win the series in 6.
Yeah,
well, either way, they're small. But I mean, now in hindsight,
They're the same team. They didn't shoot the ball well. Right. The Lakers game planned really well. The Lakers were physical and enforced their will to get to the free throw line in 4 wins. And the Warriors needed to shoot well to win. And they flat out couldn't do it.
No, but Carl, you're ignoring the obvious. I mean,
no, I'm not ignoring the obvious. There isn't an obvious.
You are ignoring the obvious.
What's the obvious?
The obvious was that AD was scoring over Gary Payton. He was being guarded by Gary Payton, Carl. Gary Payton's 6'3".
AD.
They needed more size
to guard who? Who they going to get? Who they going to get? They get DeAndre Drummond. He can't play.
I'm just saying.
We all know that.
My point is this: they needed more size. They needed more depth.
Who?
You're saying the Warriors.
But who would you have? Give me a big man that you could get.
First of all, I've already thrown out like 4. So I threw out Nerlens Noel. You could have had him.
Can't play.
DeMarcus Cousins.
You could have had Cousins. You could have had Kevin Love. You could have.
Huh?
There were several big
Taiwan.
There were several big
men. He wasn't Taiwan then. False, he wasn't. They could have signed DeMarcus Cousins at any time.
Everybody else.
They could have traded for JaVale McGee. They could have. There were several big men available at the deadline.
Off of somebody else's roster, and he doesn't play on that roster.
But my point is, it doesn't. There were a number of big men that they could have had either off season or at the deadline. The point is, they're too small and too thin, and they wound up in the biggest game of their year, going for extended periods of time with Gary Payton II guarding Antonio Davis. And what did Antonio Davis do? He took him down to the low block and he dunked on him.
Come on, that was one bucket.
But I'm just saying that was a mismatch. That was a mismatch, and LA found it and they exploited it. All I'm saying is they were too thin, too small. They're too guard oriented. Carl, they weren't this small the entire run. They really were not. They were not this small.
Larry, we're not talking about 5 years ago. 2016 is 7 years ago. 2018 is 5 years ago. In the last 3 years, Kevon Looney has been their best big.
Yeah, they also did have Wiseman, and I'll say this about Wiseman. When I watched him, he was a guy that wanted to, like Penny Hardaway said, he was going to make him a point guard. Like he played out wanting to shoot 3, didn't know how to set proper screens, didn't know how to, box out, get rebounds. He was always down too low, underneath, like right under the net instead of, it's like balls. He wouldn't get rebounds. To me, if James Wiseman was a guy that they felt, even if they felt like he was a year or two away from being what they wanted him to be, they wouldn't have traded him. I think they let him go because they felt like it was not a great return, because he was.
They let him go to save $37 million.
They save money, but
that's why they let him go.
I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. I was the biggest James Wiseman fan. I had his jersey. Guess what? I've since gave it away because I was so disappointed in how he doesn't attack the glass. His shot is clunky coming out of his hand.
But they would have shown more patience with him if it wasn't going to cost him so much.
Pistons fans that were actually upset they got Wiseman because they think this kid Jalen Duren is flat out better than him.
Yes.
And Wiseman's to getting more minutes. They're saying, why are we playing this guy? Jalen Duren's better than him. So this isn't a Wiseman thing. I don't know why we're spending so much damn time talking about James Wiseman.
Well,
I'd rather GP2 gave you a better chance at winning now.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you what, I don't think James is going to help you next year anyway, and his deal's going to expire. What do you want to extend him? You want to see what he's got 3-4 years down the road? And
correct.
No, it was done. It was over. Bye.
You're right, Eric.
Listen. The deal, whether or not he becomes a quote high level player, nobody really knows, right? But what we do know is that the deal was done to save money. That was a fact. All right.
So, I don't think so, Red.
I don't think so.
Come on.
If he was good, they wouldn't have done it. If he was good, they wouldn't have done it. So it wasn't about money. It's because he wasn't good and he's injury prone.
Hold on, let me explain to you how. All right. This is third year, right? This is third year?
Yeah, and he's been injured for 2 of them.
Okay, now, if they keep him, that means that they think that he is a part of their future. You got to extend him. They're already in the stratosphere in terms of salary. They did not want to do that.
Because he wasn't good enough. They could have got rid of other players if he was the star that he thought he was.
But, here's the other thing nobody ever seems to like, in the midst of telling us how shitty James Wiseman is, the guy had like a dozen double-doubles after he left the Warriors. I mean, if you don't believe me, I can sit here and quote it for you. Chicago Bulls, 11 points, 12 rebounds.
Questioning his ability
12 and 10 against Orlando, 14 and 11 against OKC, 22 and 13 against the Miami Heat. That doesn't sound like a guy can't play.
Win any of those games, though, either.
14 and 9. They're a bad team. 14 and 9, 12 and 10, 18 and 14, 16 and 13.
He's not talented. And it's not that they don't like saving money. The difference is they had an asset that they didn't believe was an appreciating asset in their system the way they want to play over the next couple of years. And they went to go get an asset they feel could bring value. And all of us can say Gary Payton II brought value when he showed up and was finally able to perform. The other thing that doesn't get talked about is that the Warriors core that played in this playoff series, the 8 guys who really ate up most of the minutes, each of those guys were not playing together 2 months ago. They didn't start playing together until right before the playoffs began. They didn't have a lot of time, kind of like what happened to Phoenix. Yes, they were a little bit light on the bench. They had guys who could play roles, but they didn't have a ton. If they weren't going to get a lot out of JaMychal Green as a veteran big, that was going to be hugely important. And we all thought after game 2, he was going to bring some value and open up the floor and help them a little bit more by spacing the floor. When he couldn't play after game 3, that was a problem because they got smaller and their degree of having a challenge became much larger for them. At the bottom line, if the Warriors didn't shoot great in this series, they weren't going to win it because that's their best attribute, their ability to make open shots. And they flat out couldn't do it in a game 6, and now they're at home.
Yeah, the one thing that you can't deny is that when you trade a youngster with a lot of potential, which is essentially the future, for a role player who's 30, You're trying to win in the present. The fact that they didn't get out of the second round and they don't have James Wiseman is a loss.
No,
that is
not.
A loss. Oh,
it's
absolutely
not a
it
loss.
is.
The
Absolutely
loss
is.
was,
You gave away tomorrow. You gave away tomorrow for today, and you didn't. Yes, you did.
There's
you gave
no
away the
guarantee
second pick
what
in the
he's gonna
draft.
do
You
tomorrow.
gave away the asset named James Wiseman, who's all about tomorrow, and you got today, and you lost in the second round today. And you're trying to tell me that that's not a fail?
That the failure was what Red said. Drafting a guy, hoping he could become something, and he just didn't become what you hoped for. The hope was okay. We all see the physical talent, but the delivery on the floor was incredibly inconsistent. They even brought in a specialist to work with him, to work on those areas Bay Area Baller is talking about, and they still weren't seeing enough growth. And they eventually had to say, we got to cut our losses. Somebody else can hopefully develop it.
Why did they have to cut their losses?
Here.
Why did so by that definition, Carl, by that definition, the 49ers should cut their losses with Trey Lance right now, right? Get rid of Trey Lance because he's not ready to help you today. So he has to be traded because tomorrow doesn't matter.
Basketball and football are two different sports.
Foss, I think too much of the onus sometimes lies on the players. And I think that's wrong because most fans really don't know what they're looking at. Beyond the ball going in the basket and somebody don't. No, it's very, very acute. You know what? We can look at Moses Moody. If Moses Moody was not the upstanding young man, mature kid that he is, he could be with a megaphone yelling at, I'm getting screwed, right? They would have been a much better team had 30 games ago, 50 games ago. They dealt with the ebbs and flows of developing this young player. This is a good player, and they set him on the bench for the whole year. Why? Even Kuminga, we know that Kuminga didn't play a lot in the playoffs for non-basketball issues, in my opinion. Just based on what I'm watching, I haven't talked to him. I don't know that. But he's 6'9". He's a live body. You telling me you can't put him out there and just run up and down the court for 10 or 12 minutes a game? No. There are other things that happen within this organization that impede the progress of these young guys. James Wiseman didn't handle the mental coaching that the Warriors inflicted upon him. I mean, he might have shut down. Basketball is not that complicated. You know that, Foss. You coach for 20-some-odd years. If you tell a player that is wide-eyed and totally buying into who you are as a coach and leadership on the team, they'll run through a wall for you. We didn't see that with these young guys. The question is why. The onus is not only on the players. The coaches got to take some of the responsibility, and I didn't see enough of that. I really didn't.
It's because they have two different standards for their team. They had the old guys and the young guys. There are things that the young guys do on the floor. If they do them one time, they're on the bench. Klay Thompson can do that over and over and over again. Even if it's the stupidest play of all time, he's staying out there. That double standard hurt them this year. And you can't just defer to Kerr and Myers and say, well, they know what they're doing, because then how do you explain Moses Moody? Moses Moody was literally banished for months to the bench. Are you telling me that all those months in January and February that he could not play, and if he had played, he wouldn't have been better come playoff time? I would push back and say you're wrong. I think that if he had played in the regular season, he'd be better. And I think the same thing about Kuminga. And my whole thing was, I get that James Wiseman was raw, and I get that he had terrible hands and he needed lots of playing time. But then keep him in the G League and let him dominate. Why would you ever promote James Wiseman to sit at the end of the bench and be DNP coach's decision instead of letting him get up and down against Sioux Falls or whatever G League team? He needed court time, Carl. He needed to play. So you can't say, well, we couldn't develop him. We had to move him because he had to play. But you had an entire preseason, which is the NBA regular season. And you could have put him out there. And guess what? It wouldn't have mattered. It wasn't going to matter where you finished.
G League. I saw James play in the G League. It's a different game.
I know, but
His
he
role
needed
is
court
different.
time, Carl, and he needed basic court time.
What
Like
he needed,
he needed to be able to just pick and roll to
What
the
he
bucket
needed?
and understand the spacing.
what he needed was to be in an environment where he could be successful. He's now in Detroit. Let's hope he can become highly successful. He seems like an amazing kid. I love his physical gifts. But the experiment was done. You can debate on how you thought it went, but at the end of the day, he's gone and he needs to hopefully develop where he's at.
It killed the veterans, though. I mean, to expect Draymond Green, 6'6", 6'7", to go out there every night and battle against these 7-foot behemoth and do it to the extent that he's an all defensive player and then question whether or not he's even valuable enough to extend. It's just, I mean, that was not right. That was not right. And again, those are things that fans generally don't look at. Draymond Green, and I mean, despite punch and pull, and I thought that was horrific, right? But I tell you what, talk about a rally. Talk about somebody rallying. This guy came out and had one of his most professional years in his career. And coaches said, go out there and do it again. It wasn't fair. He has physical limitations because he needed bigger players to complement what he does. And they didn't put that on the floor with him. And yet his body is getting older. You know, he's getting hurt and devaluing what he brings to the table. And now he has to go out there and try to find some more money. So, you know, there was a lot of things that I saw that the organization could have done better than they did this year.
Let's welcome in Damon Bruce to the proceedings. D. Bruce, we're yelling at each other. We're angry. We're frustrated. I'm disgusted by the Warriors on so many fronts. But I'm one of the things we've been talking about is the whole Wiseman thing. But give us your thoughts on the game, the series, where the Warriors go from here. You watched it.
Well, you shouldn't be disgusted about anything because I told you exactly what was going to happen tonight. I told you that the Lakers are going to win tonight. The Warriors are who they were all goddamn year, and that is not good enough. They were good enough to create the illusion of contention, but they were never truly contenders, and in a crazy, weird, sort of bizarro way, they've overachieved more than they underachieved this year. They were flawed in construction. They were flawed in execution. They were flawed in what they did not do at the trade deadline. And I don't think that there is any reason for a rational basketball fan who understands this league to be angry about a single thing. You can be disappointed that it's over. And I tell you, with no uncertainty, the dynasty, as you know it, is over. Their ability to compete is not over, but their ability to compete for titles as currently constructed is done. I poured myself a couple fingers full of whiskey, got a little rocks in there, a little clinky, and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do.
What are you going to do?
I am going to celebrate the fact that not since your late 80s, early 90s 49ers have you seen anything this fucking good in your entire goddamn lives? And if you're anything less than appreciative for the last decade of basketball you don't know shit. This is one of the single greatest runs in the history of sports. This is the single greatest dynasty you will ever be handed in your goddamn life. And I don't want to hear a word about, well, it's fucking over. And nothing lasts forever, baby. Nothing lasts forever.
Preach it.
The fact that they have gone on this long is extraordinary. This is a level of success rarely afforded to the great of the greats of the greats of the greats. What they've done is remarkable. Of course it came to an end. Look at how they were built. Look at how old they are. Look at the injuries Klay Thompson's coming off of. Look at the fact that, Andrew Wiggins is out there playing with a broken rib tonight. You thought they were going to win? In what Candyland dream did you think that they were going to win this? And even if they did win this, they ain't winning shit this year. You knew that. Everything that you needed to know about the Warriors, they told you in every road game they played all year.
They were favored.
Who you are By who? Who are they favored by?
Vegas.
What the fuck do they know about basketball? They're just trying to get you to bet on something.
They were
That's
favored.
not a true representation of what they think is going to happen. They're trying to create action around a number. That's all Vegas is. This has been an extraordinary run. But the dynasty, as you know, it is over. And I say that emphatically because for the first time in this entire Steph Curry era, the formula is not simply, hey, run that back. They can't run this back. A huge offseason of decisions are in front of the Golden State Warriors. The first decision lies in Draymond, whether he comes back for a year, opts out, and re-opts in for a little bit of a discount. Klay Thompson, obviously, is a different player now and needs to be treated as such. I mean, if he's going to go forward with the Golden State Warriors, a massive redefining of what he is on this team, a situation where he now becomes a sixth man is very much a reality. I don't know whether or not Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga can be counted on going forward as Golden State Warriors to be really considered. I don't know. Bob Myers might be out. This team's going to look a lot different next year, and it needs to. They were good enough to maintain an illusion this year, but the whole thing was an optical illusion by one of the greatest magicians of all time, Steph Curry. He is good enough to make a kind of shitty team look better than kind of shitty. They were a kind of shitty team all year. And the fact that they were a game away from the Western Conference Finals, to me, is nothing short of a goddamn miracle when you kind of look back at it all, knowing what happened. And cheers to all of you, gentlemen. It's wonderful to see you. I've already said too much. Hello.
I'm just
nice intro.
I don't think anybody doesn't appreciate the run. I mean, first of all, what makes me sick to my stomach are all these Warrior Johnny-come-lately people who weren't there when Carl and I were sitting there doing, Andres Biedrins, come on fucking down. None of you were there. None of you gave a shit. None of you were there for any of that. And for the most part, there's all these Johnny-come-lately Warrior fans who have never experienced anything but the winning, so they don't really have the battle scars of the losing. But and I understand what you're saying, D. Bruce, about perspective. Perspective sucks in a post-game show, and if you bring your perspective to my post-game show, I'm booting it out of here because it's a post-game show, and we bitch and moan on the post-game show. And you should know that. You should know that. No, I'm just joking. But you know what I'm saying. I think there's legitimate reasons to point fingers at different entities. Jordan Poole, what the hell? Klay Thompson, you shot the Warriors out of it tonight.
Klay was awful tonight.
Wiggins,
that's the thing.
Wiggins. How many open looks can
light.
Wiggins get that he misses? I really felt like the Warriors, for the much of Steph Curry's run here, they have gone along for the ride. He's created for himself. They only create for him a little bit. Draymond's the guy who really sets it up for him. Hardly anybody else really sets Steph Curry up. To me, now that he's 35, that's what needed to happen here. They needed to work in the half court to get Steph looks, and instead it's like, sometimes he'll shoot it. Sometimes he doesn't cycle back to him. And it's like the urgency to have him take the lion's share of the shots I didn't see there. But I agree with Legler in the postgame who said, you know what, at the end of the day, this Warrior team's too small and too thin. And it's almost a self-created situation because they weren't this small, effectively this small in the regular season. And they definitely weren't this thin. But by the time the playoffs got progressed a little bit, now we got to the second round, it was like, can you count on Poole? No. Can you count on Kuminga? No.
Well, you don't know.
Yeah, or you know what I mean? There's all these guys that, they couldn't count on. And I don't know. I mean, I just felt like
to me,
they made some really questionable decisions along the way.
The overall arcing takeaway from this is that the Warriors have always been at their best with that small lineup, and tonight the small lineup got absolutely hammered. So if that's the way you're gonna, think about playing basketball from here on out, the league has changed. The league, the Warriors changed the league, and then the league changed around the Warriors changed. It's
you're
all about
exactly
adjustment.
right, Damon. The league changes. Michael Thompson said it 3-4 months ago. He says the Warriors are looking in the rearview mirror when they need to be looking in the front through the front window because they're going to need a big this year. They're going to need a big this year. He says they got away with it, last year, but things have changed, and you got Davis, you got Jokic, you got Ayton. They were going to face Ayton. They were going to get beat by somebody down low, and Davis was dominating. He dominated defensively with block shots and forcing bad shots. He dominated on the boards. He dominated on offense down low. They had no answer for Anthony Davis. And when the Lakers adjusted and decided to go with LeBron tonight, LeBron was going to just take it to the rack, and he wasn't going to be denied. They had no answer for him.
Part of that equation, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm done. Yeah.
I was saying part of that equation, though, is a decrease in shooting ability. If the Warriors shoot 50% from 3-point, from 3-point line, even without having a big guy, they can still sustain a level of success. But the combination of being small, no interior scoring, and the erosion of their perimeter shooting put them in a pickle. Now, the league has changed, and that's why, again, it goes back to that education piece when we talk about Warrior fans. So for some Warrior fans, this is their concept of basketball. This is all they know. And the league has flipped. Are you looking at the guys who are coming into the league now? So you know what? The Warriors don't have to go from they don't have to do a 180, but they certainly need to adjust their approach. They need somebody inside beyond Draymond Green who can play very good defense and be a contributor on offense from the post. They don't have that.
Frank, I got an idea because I heard what Damon said. I don't want the dynasty to be over. So I'm looking, okay, what moves can they possibly make? Okay. Obviously, it's going to take – they're going to have to trade some assets into the future, draft picks. So this is what I'm looking at.
They don't trade draft picks, by the way. Go ahead.
Well, they might have to, Frank. They got to make some adjustments here. So I'm thinking Jordan Poole, and it might have to be Kuminga because that's an acquisition that teams would want to get. What about a guy like Pascal Siakam? Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, you might have to throw in a first-round pick or two to get a guy like a Siakam because that Jordan Poole contract, that's a salary slot. Now, I think it's a bad salary. I don't think too many GMs are salivating at getting
why would
Jordan
Masai
Poole.
Ujiri do that? Why would Masai Ujiri do that? Come on.
I mean,
Hey, might look at doing it, Damon.
Where did they didn't do anything in the playoffs? The Raptors did nothing. They barely squeaked into.
What are they going to do with Jonathan Kuminga and Jordan Poole?
Well, Jordan Poole is an NBA scorer. We can't take away the fact that he's an NBA scorer. He's a horrific defender, but he is an NBA scorer. He is going to need a new environment because he needs to be somewhere where he can start and play 30-plus minutes a game because it's very clear he doesn't want to be a second-unit guy in Golden State. That part's easy. The reason that they might look at passing off Pascal Siakam is because they are not going anywhere. They're stuck in Middleville. So they're going to want to acquire some younger assets and some younger players so they can still be somewhat competitive. But they're going to need to refresh what they're doing. You have to find a trade partner that is going to be willing to be pretty okay for a while so that they can try to become great. But the Warriors, as long as Steph Curry is on the roster, they have to be relevant. Now, I hear people saying, hey, well, as an example, Damon, you said Klay going to the bench. So let's say Klay became a sixth man. That means you've got to bring in a two guard who fits, meaning a two guard who can guard points and still has an ability to do something offensively because you can't play a pure defensive player.
Could Moody be that guy in an off season? I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
NBA Draft.net, Carl, has the Warriors at 19 selecting Jordan Hawkins, who's a damn good shooter from UConn. I would take Jordan Hawkins, and I
Good
think
player.
isn't he a DeMatha kid?
He's a good player. He's a
He's a hell of a
slight.
shooter. He's a hell of a shooter, though.
He's a heck of a shooter, moves off the ball well, kind of plays like Rip Hamilton. He's a little light in the pants, so he's a little slight. He'll have a lot of trouble defensively, but eventually he could become a good player. If you're going to move Moody into the starting lineup, Moody has to become a guy who can become an outstanding defender guarding lead guards, because he will get the job of guarding a lot of lead guards. You also have to decide what you're going to do with Andrew Wiggins. He's really the pinch point, because he's the one guy who's kind of the bridge guy who's in the middle of his prime. He's still super talented. And would you be willing to make a move?
He's locked in at a great price. He really is. He's locked in at a great price.
Like 25, 27 million.
I don't think Moody's a starter. Moody hasn't proven to me that he's a starter. What he's proven is he's an NBA player that can play several roles. But to put that much responsibility on him next year, I think would be a bit much, because he's not a great ball handler. You know, he can handle the ball, but he's not the quintessential two guard who can shake off his defender 23 feet from the basket and get all the way to the cup.
Clay's never been that either, though. I mean, Klay can dribble straight. But
in Clay's prime, Klay is a top 5 shooter of all time. So he's going to make most of those open shots that he gets, and he doesn't have to drive as much because he's such a great shooter. So, you know,
and he's not only a shooter off the catch, he's a shooter off the move.
All I would say is
Moody is not at this point in his career.
Is that the Warriors got here by being able to identify skill in the draft. That's what Steph Curry was. You know, he was skill. That's what Klay Thompson was. He was skill. And it's going to take more of that skill, finding skilled players. Jordan Hawkins is a flat out shooter. I'll tell you the other guy that I really love. He's probably more of a round 2 guy, but if you watch a lot of college hoop, I don't know how much college hoop you guys watch. I know Carl probably watches a lot, but Baylor Shireman, who plays for Creighton, the 6'7" 2 guard, that guy strokes it. He can absolutely shoot it. But I'm just saying they need to go find some more shooters to add to this mix. They need to go and find some more talent. I mean, it's not.
There's no rookie available on the planet that will help the Warriors next year. Not a fucking one. And even if they had that player, Kerr wouldn't play him. They need to go back.
You got to get younger, Damon, at some point.
No, they need a veteran right now, or they need someone who's played in this league, has had success in this league, that isn't going to be eliminated instantly. Because look, Steve Kerr does not believe in young players. Full stop. That's it. There's no amount of I liked him today, therefore I'm going to give him minutes tomorrow. And any young player that Steve Kerr has come across in his career to this point. So don't expect him to find it now. You know, you're talking about a second rounder. Patrick Baldwin Jr. will mean more to the Warriors than any second round. I don't want to talk about a single second round pick ever mattering to the Warriors in this version of the Steph Curry era, because there is no solution in the second round for next year's team. They need to, if they want to maximize Steph Curry's future, you are basically slitting 5 years down the road your throat right there. You are looking to compete and trying to win one more title in the next 3 years. Fuck the future. It is only the present. There is no developing at this point that is going to help the Golden State Warriors. They need proven, get it done players. And I'm not talking about like, well, he had a bad ankle and Dante DiVincenzo, who had a good, he's the only other Warrior who went into double figures tonight. He's the only other Warrior that went into double figures tonight. And I don't trust
and it wasn't. I mean, you can sit there and talk about Laker D all you want. Warriors missed open shots.
They missed open shots.
They missed a lot of great looks.
The free throw disparity. I mean, the Warriors got their dicks kicked in every single time the free throw disparity looked like this. The Lakers shot 42 free throws. The Warriors shot 14.
Yeah, 28 differential. We said it the other night. I said if the differential is 5-7, I love Golden State's chances. If it's 20, no, and it was 28. Let's welcome in the man who's locked on Warriors,
Cyrus
Satsas. Cy, we've been yelling at each other. We've been fighting it out. We're disagreeing. Well,
What happened tonight? What's going on?
We're just battling.
Well, we're talking about James Wiseman for like 20 minutes, Si.
The Knicks lost.
It happened.
The Knicks lost. Cyrus.
We're battling it out. I'm bitter. I'm pissed. I'm bringing back a sports phone, Larry, which is just I'm pissed. I'm just pissed and I'm venting. And I've got people around me, and I'm gonna lash out. No, but go ahead.
Good content. I had to block 2 or 3 people tonight, so
I blocked a couple. I said Haruki Itoki get lost.
Locked on.
What did Haruki do? What did Haruki do?
Haruki Itoki just got to my nerves. So I just said, you know what? Fuck you, Haruku, and you're blocked. Sorry.
One of my rules: if you come on the stream and say you don't know ball, blocked.
Goodbye, Haruki. I guess you're not coming back.
I don't
Haruku Hitoki. It was nice knowing you. Go check out NorCal Sports Network. Maybe they got room at the end for you.
How crazy is it, first of all, that right after the game ends, Draymond Green comes out publicly and says, I want to be a Warrior for life. And then The Athletic is reporting that they're already talking about a new extension. So that's good news. That is good news.
Really? That is great news.
So what that tells me is that I think Jordan Poole's gone. I don't know how you keep him.
Good. I want him gone.
And going off what Damon was saying about how there's no chance in hell for youngsters play or whatever. And if that's the case, then yeah, you got to trade all your youngsters and just go all out and try to win, one more chip or whatever. Or you get rid of Kerr and you bring in a coach that actually can develop players and isn't a liability managing your veterans. And then maybe you can actually have something with this roster instead of letting half your players just rot on the bench all season with their confidence getting murdered when they could have actually contributed real minutes. What Kerr did is criminal, man. This was just a straight up pure ass coaching job from him. And he deserves all the criticism. And this is not a hatred.
They can't play though. I mean, to me, Steve Kerr is not the problem. He's not at all. The problem is Jordan Poole decided to fucking suck, and Jonathan Kuminga decided to sulk, and he didn't play. And Patrick Baldwin Jr. might not be an NBA player, even though he's got NBA size. I mean,
he's a rookie. Damon, he's a rookie. Who cares? Why are you bringing him up? That's irrelevant. Who cares about PJ? But the Kuminga thing, when did it become a fucking crime to sulk? Like, is Kerr that big of a fucking emperor where, like, God forbid, you're not happy with being benched after playing good all year? Oh no, I sulked. I'm a fucking asshole now who deserves to not play in an important series. And guess what? That same series, we got fucking kicked out in 6 games. That's bullshit to me, dude. Kerr should go if that's a reason why Kuminga didn't play. That's an asinine fucking reason.
Kerr's not going anywhere. I mean, should be your default setting. You can complain all you want.
Well, he's a lame duck coach.
Steve Kerr's
he's a lame duck coach. If you're going to be certain that he stays, are you saying then he's going to get an extension? Because I can't see Lakers being happy.
1,000,000,000% extended. He's not leaving as long as Steph Curry's playing. That's just
let's play this game right now. Let's go right down the line. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say a name. You guys say leaving, staying. Okay, simple as that.
All right.
And Mr. Rudy Poo, Larry, always a sore loser, did the same with the Niners. Fuck off.
Fuck you.
Seriously, fuck right off. All right. It's my show, and if you don't like it, there's 589 other people sitting right there. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Bob Myers, staying or going?
Staying.
I think
I've had a source tell me he's staying. I don't think he's going anywhere. Sorry.
Baller says staying. Carl said staying. Or Frank?
Stay.
Cy staying.
Yeah, I'm confident he's staying.
D. Bruce.
Like he just wants money. He wants the bag, and hopefully
the man from the Plus.
I think he's gone. I've heard too many different things about what Bob's about to do next to think that staying on the sinking ship of the Warriors is the right move for him at this point in his career. He has reached the zenith of success here. He's the kind of guy I think who's going to go. What I think is about to happen next is he's already got like a backdoor deal to go run the Clippers.
Oh, Danny.
So him and Jerry West are that close, huh? Is that?
I'm saying he's going to. I think he's. I think Joe wants to get his kid in there.
That's awful. Yeah, if that's true.
I do think Myers will probably leave because, as Damon said, he's already reached the top here. This thing it is starting to dwindle. The only thing that would keep him here, I believe, would be if they do have something with Draymond set, and that maybe the fact that with Draymond being here and Curry, maybe he could build around it this year with some veterans. But it's his choice. I don't think he's pushed out. I think it's his choice. If he's gone, it's because he wants to leave. And if he wants to stay, he'll be back.
Okay, Steve Kerr, going or staying? Baller?
Staying.
He's staying.
Staying. Danny?
Staying.
Frank?
He's staying.
Carl?
2 thumbs up. He's going nowhere.
Damon?
He will never coach another NBA team but the Golden State Warriors.
Cy?
I want him gone, but I fear he's going to stay.
Why do you want him gone, though? Because he won
fucking
4
sucks.
championships.
He's the most average. He's the most overrated coach I've seen. Look, Robert Horry won 7 titles. That doesn't mean he's a fucking basketball genius, all right? Steve Kerr rode coattails of the greatest players and coaches in the history of this game. He had Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson, Greg Popovich, Tim Duncan, Stephen Curry.
Lute Olson. The guy's been around winners all his life, and he's won all his life.
Yeah, but you act like he was a star of those fucking teams. Like
no, he wasn't, but he's around greatness.
So what? So what?
And you think he blew this year?
He was never a head coach before the Warriors. So just because he suddenly came here, that makes him a brilliant coach? I mean,
he's been a GM. He's been an
4
analyst.
championships.
Exactly, 4 championships. I knew
4 championships.
So what? As a
Is
coach,
Bochy
so
suck?
what?
He had Steph Curry.
So what? So what?
He had
4
Stephen Curry and
championships,
Kevin
so
Durant.
what?
I could have fucking won a title, coach.
No, you couldn't have. Not
Easily.
one. You'd have
Let me
0
ask you this.
titles as head
Let
coach
me
of
ask
the
you
Golden
this.
State
If-
Warriors. 0.
If
0 titles, Cy.
If Steve
0.
Kerr took over in 2013 and not 2015, do those 13 and 14 teams win titles?
Oh, I'm not here for what might have. I'm here for what did.
Well, it's
He
important
won
to
4
note that because you're talking about
championships.
how effective
He
of a
has the
coach he
full
is.
confidence
Cyrus.
of every
Let's-
Hall of Fame player on this team.
Let's
Cyrus.
do this.
Steph
Let's
Curry's
do this, man.
opinion
Let's
matters.
do what. Let's do
Curry,
it.
do this year.
Steph Curry tell you he never wants to play for anyone else.
Let's do
I
what
don't
Rick
care.
Barry
That
did
doesn't mean
7
he's a great
times. Let's
coach.
do what
Oh,
Rick
you don't
Barry
care what
did.
Steph Curry says. That guy's irrelevant
Let's
now.
do-
Fuck
That means he's a
Kerr.
great coach.
Fuck
He
Steve
likes
Curry.
him.
Fuck
Let's
them all.
let's do what Rick Barry did. Let's do what Rick Barry
Getting
did
along
7 to
doesn't
8
make him
times a
great
show.
coach.
Let's agree to disagree.
Okay.
808 Niners says they weren't locked in on D. They were ball watching and late on rotation. The games they won on their D allowed them to get out and run. Okay, so now we get to Draymond Green. Draymond Green, staying or going?
He's staying.
Staying. Danny.
I was reading a comment. Who? Which person? Which
Draymond
player?
Green.
I think he's going to stay.
And I'll say Kerr stays, by the way. I'm saying Draymond stays. Frank?
I think it's all about the money. I think he's going to follow the money. Did you see that LeBron hug at the end of the game?
Yeah.
That's called a money hug. That's what it's called. You know what I'm saying? And LeBron was sending him a message from the agency. Get your money, boy.
I could have swore I heard Draymond say to LeBron, "You tell Jeannie to cut a big fat fucking check."
You know?
Carl, Draymond staying or going?
He's staying. I've said it all year. He's going nowhere.
D. Bruce, the Plus.
Draymond will opt out and then re-sign a 3-year deal with the Golden State Warriors.
I like that. He's
There
going to
you
get
go.
money. I know that.
Maybe 21, 22 million a year. Cy, locked on.
Yeah, after tonight's reports, I think he's staying. Literally, he came out publicly and said he wants to be a Warrior for life. He wants to play with these guys for the rest of his career. And then literally the team simultaneously is already negotiating with him. So he's staying. He's not going
Next
anywhere.
guy, Jordan Poole, baller. Trade him, keep him.
Get him out of here. I'm tired of Jordan Poole. The shot selection is atrocious defensively.
Yeah,
I mean, I
defensively.
retweeted some clips of the guy. He doesn't play defense. He's literally probably the worst defender I've seen on the court. Like, it's his awareness, his focus. He leaves his shooter wide open to help out in the paint. For what, Jordan? You're not blocking any shots. Get him out of here.
I agree. If hopefully he's flying out of Oakland, I'll give him a ride. If it's SFO, I can't help him. It's too long of a drive. Danny, trade Jordan Poole, keep Jordan Poole.
Oh, he's got to go. When I watched him trying to poke the ball away at the top of the key against LeBron, I was like, what are you even doing? And then LeBron just runs him over. He's a disaster defensively. He's inconsistent offensively. I don't know what you can get for him. I don't know if you can get 2 or 3 $10 million guys, or if you can get one big guy that's a little older. Maybe you could package him with a Kuminga for a rebuilding team like Portland and get Damian Lillard or something. I said Damian Lillard 3 months ago. I think he would be great for this team because he can shoot,
I agree.
play defense.
He can't play defense.
Well, he can play a little bit. He's a lot better than Damon. I mean, a lot better than Jordan Poole. But you know, he can give.
Danny's a quick hitter. We want a chapter. You're giving us a book.
Trade.
Frank, Jordan Poole, trade him, keep him.
Trade him for his own benefit. I don't have any angst for this young man, but he needs a new home, man.
I hear you. Change the scenery.
Yeah.
Carl, trade him, keep him.
He's a asset that I think will be valuable somewhere else. I think he does need to grow up a little bit, but you cannot be mad at a young man who wants a chance to become a better player. And I think he lost the confidence that he could be that here. So I would move him.
Plus,
Jordan Poole will 100% be on the Warriors opening day roster next year. He's a 24-year-old who gets 20 a game, and he's not going anywhere until possibly the trade deadline in the second year of his extension. He will be a Golden State Warrior for at least one more year. They don't know the right value for him right now. His value doesn't necessarily line up with the new contract that kicks in next year. So it will be a wait and see and a massive chance for him to there's mandatory development and improvement that needs to be seen, but he will be a Golden State Warrior on opening night next year, guaranteed. Put your mortgage on it.
Locked on.
Oh my God. Like the only trade I've still heard so far that sounds plausible would be trading him to the Wizards for Kristaps Porzingis, just because when you talk about any Jordan Poole trade proposal or idea, you have to take into account who wants him, right? Like who actually is willing to trade for him. I could see the Wizards doing that because that's what the Wizards do. And plus, I don't think they want to lose Porzingis for nothing. The salaries match, and the Warriors would get a two-way player in Porzingis back in a trade like that. I'm not saying it's a great trade, but I'm saying it's the only one I've heard that's actually has a semblance of realism to it. With that said,
earlier, Sai, I threw out Siakam, which
why would the Raptors do that? Like Siakam's an amazing player. Like I would love that, but I don't see why the Raptors would do unless you throw in picks and like a Kuminga.
It'd have to be picks and Kuminga. Yeah, it'd have to. But
even then, I don't know. So
Klay Thompson, is he here next year or is he moving on?
He's here.
He's here.
He's here. Carl, he's here.
He's right here.
He has one more year left on his deal, but he can't. I don't think he should be a starter anymore. I think he should come off the bench.
Yeah, I see. This is where Cyrus and I do agree. He is a $42 million a year locked-in player next year. He's not going anywhere at this time. Possible trade bait. Possibly looked at as someone who is going to be more valuable as a sixth man of the year candidate than as a starter who will never see another All-Star game.
Danny?
He'll be here.
He'll be here. I think he's going to be here, but I seriously, if I could listen to offers, I think I would.
There will be no max extension for him. That's for sure.
Well, there's no chance of that. I mean, come on. Dante DiVincenzo has a $4.7 million option, and he could get more than that in the free agent market, but he's been on bad teams, and he says he likes being on a good team, and he's probably got, I don't know. I mean, I could look it up. What do you think? What would you guys guess that DiVincenzo's got in the bank? I would say he's got $25 million in the bank. He may mean that he wants to stay in a winning situation. I don't know how much he likes to win, but he played in Milwaukee, he played in Sacramento, and then he was like, get me back to a winner. And he came to the Warriors, and he was good, and I'm sure they'd like to keep him. But $4.7 million is probably a pipe dream. Does DiVincenzo opt out? He's got a player option, and does he bolt?
If he stays in Northern California, he's going to be in Sacramento. I don't think if they have a mid-level exception, Warriors can't offer any more. Other teams can offer him $2, $3, $4 million more, I believe, a year.
Yeah, I think he's gone. I mean, he's a value commodity around the NBA, especially for veteran teams. You look at the Phoenix Suns. I mean, I'll be picking the phone up the first second after free agency starts. So he's a valuable player. I think he's gone.
I want him back, but when he signed this deal, he knew that coming off the injury, he's coming to the Warriors to boost his value so he could get paid this offseason. This is a guy, I don't think he's gotten that big contract yet in his career, so he's going to be gone, getting the bag elsewhere.
Look at this one. Lucky Trey says Steph Curry has keratoconus.
What's that?
What? It's a rare eye condition. I actually have had keratoconus, so I know that, and that's just such a random deal. It's when your eye kind of changes shape, and you can have an Intax put on it but I mean, it's like we've got an eye doctor in our.
Is that like when Peter Tosh is singing about tuberculosis and legalize it? Is that? I don't know.
No wonder you have so many subscribers, Larry. You give people takes that are just you put them up in the spotlight. These idiots.
Steph Curry has keratoconus. I mean, that is just that's a deep pull.
Flock here.
Does anybody think DiVincenzo's coming back?
He has it. It's true, actually. I'm looking this up right now. This person's right.
He does have it.
Yeah, he's
really?
Yeah, it's actually
take
true.
it back.
I actually have it. I have it in my left eye. I had a keratoconus procedure by Dr. Chirag Patel at the Turner Eye Institute, and now I was like 2100 in my left eye.
Can
I'm now 20
like red now.
2025.
You know what happened? I'm reading this right now. He discovered it in 2019. He was enduring a shooting slump.
That's amazing.
And he wears contacts now because of it.
Yep.
Oh
yeah, I wear contacts too.
Get him the fuck out of here with his keratoconus and the Kareth Burke or whatever.
Should I get that next time? And you know what? He's got to go. Get rid of him a year too early because of the keratoconus.
Stick around with coconuts. Forget it. No way.
That's the inside. Hey, my insider source says keratoconus. It's a narrowing of the eye socket. He needs to get out of here. All right,
hey, Larry. Somebody mentioned Phoenix. Was it for Red? Did you say DiVincenzo might go to Phoenix?
No, I didn't say Mike. I didn't say Mike go there, but I said if I was Phoenix.
Oh, if you were Phoenix, yeah.
I'll be very
I heard a report on
him.
Phoenix yesterday. Watching local news, they're in trouble because they are strapped financially, and they don't have a mid-level exception and no future ones, so they're in. They're stuck. Big trouble.
Look, they're radically overpaying for Chris Paul at this point in his career, and they got an overpay for DeAndre Ayton, who isn't half the player that they are paying him to be. So that's their problem.
Cy and Damon, you guys were, before you jumped in here, doing your own shows. Cy on the Locked On, Damon on the Plus. What were the fans saying on your guys' shows? What kind of reaction were you getting in the chats or either on the calls, or what kind of reaction were you getting from the fans? Were people blaming Klay? Were they blaming Poole? Were they absolving Kerr of blame? Who was getting the blame? Who was getting attacked in your guys' post game?
Go ahead, David. I defer to you, sir.
Well, no one was getting attacked on the Plus because we had the smartest audience in America. And what you had was a level of appreciation for a decade that no other Warrior fan can even pretend to relate to. The single greatest sporting gift you will ever be handed in your life has been handed to you. There is no such thing as good forever. The expectation of good forever is a child's expectation. Things come to an end. And we're looking at, for the first time, a situation where the answer is no longer run it back. So the offseason will provide an awful lot of, talking points and what's going to happen next, starting with the general manager himself. The Warriors will look and feel a little similar to what you see, but in another case, they'll look very different. And for those who want to say that they're disappointed because they underachieved, I really think that if you added up all the data points, the only true recap of this year is that they wildly overachieved. They had no business being a game away from the Western Conference Finals, given who they were on the road. And who you are on the road is who you really are as a basketball team. And as a basketball team on the road, they were the Detroit fucking Pistons. So it's incredible that they were even here. It's a testament to Curry's singular excellence that they were here. And the construction of this team, the deconstruction of this team will be things that we get to talk about until opening night next year. I thought tonight everyone on the Plus understood that this was going to happen because I was the only one who wasn't sucking Warrior dick the last week talking about how they're going to the Western Conference Finals. I told you that they would lose tonight because they were meant to lose tonight. They took this as far as they could, and they went out on their shields. And you saw how easily they were carried out on their shields by what turned out to be a better Lakers team with the single greatest player of our lifetimes leading them. LeBron James is the man. Full stop. And everyone on the Plus understood that because I prepared them for this moment. It's what I do.
I'm gonna take a different angle in that I also prepared my Locked On Warriors audience for this moment, but it's largely because of Kerr's horrible mismanaging of this season. This is a team just a year removed from winning a world championship, and to me, the other failing was that road record, the worst road record by a defending world champion outside of the Bulls in a strike year when they already had no chance because Jordan and everyone left. Kerr failed, and a huge reason for that was going back to the offseason when the thing with Kerr that's bugging me this year, besides the incompetency, is his ego has gotten out of control. And I don't like ego. His ego is the reason why Quindary Weatherspoon was kicked off the team and replaced by Ty Jerome and Anthony Lamb. Two disastrous decisions that made no sense when it was happening. Still doesn't make sense now. You had 3 lottery pick players.
Isn't that Bob Myers, though? I mean, I don't want to step on you, but Bob Myers is the general manager of this team, not Steve Kerr.
Correct. What's your point?
So why are you putting it all on Steve Kerr? He didn't make these transactions.
Because Bob Myers gave him players that Steve Kerr said, no, I'm not going to play. He was like, it was fucking an insubordination. I mean, you for the first
I will say this, not to interrupt, but I will say this. It's pretty clear that Steve and Bob, even though they're really supportive of each other publicly, at the trade deadline, it was real clear when Bob came out and said, well, we could trade for a big man, but if the coaches aren't going to play them, that's what he said. That's what he publicly came out and said. So I think that there was, I don't want to say a feud, but let's just say 2 different visions maybe for how things should go.
Which is why I think Bob is out.
Really? You think that's
I think it's part of the reason.
Part of the reason.
I think he knows that he's taken this as far as it can possibly go, and hitting the reset button is a smart thing to either do as a GM. Like, I've heard that Bob Myers is about to go get a multi-million-dollar job either with Omaha Productions or Amazon, or start his own a talent agency. I've heard 9 different Bob Myers stories, and they all sound like better options to me than holding the shit stick as the Warriors dynasty ends.
Is it a shit stick though? It would have been a shit stick in 2020 if that was the case. I don't know. He's from the Bay Area. I don't know if he's going to just run away. Like I don't know.
But his phone rings all the time, and it's Joe with his. Joe's. I can just tell from interviewing Joe a few times and talking to him a few times that he would be just a handful. Because you got to remember, he's the owner, and he's got a basketball board in his office. He's got a board with players, and he's the owner. So that right there already kind of tells you that he's kind of overstepping his bounds.
I'll say this about
how many owners have their own basketball board?
Young Lacob, Kirk Lacob. The fact that he wants to be groomed as this team's next GM is insane.
Agreed.
Kirk, you need to be the team's next owner, not the next GM. There's a better day waiting for you than being the next GM. So that to me would be a massive mistake. But I think think that Bob is going to be replaced by. Is it going to be what, Mike Dunleavy? That could be out there though. That could be.
I think Dunleavy goes with him. I think they're tied together.
Well, let's wait on. We don't know if he's going to go. We don't know again what's going to happen there. But what I'll tell you is this: is that I don't know how you can defend Kerr this year. If Kerr stays, and Kenny Atkinson also stays, we're going to get more of the same shit next year. I mean, Kenny Atkinson is, to me, really the fucking problem. Steve Kerr
was voted as the number one assistant in the league in the players' survey.
He's the number one assistant. That's what players said.
Yeah, I believe the last 2 years. I mean, you could look it up, but I think the NBA, that preseason player survey that's put out, I think Kenny Atkinson got the number one assistant in the entire NBA. So somebody thinks Kenny Atkinson's freaking pretty damn good. And I know Milwaukee's interviewing him to replace Budenholzer.
Well, the players in the players poll, they said, number one coach they wanted to play for would be Popovich, and Kerr was second. So players love to play for Kerr.
Iman Report says, can the Warriors front office scout? The Warriors could easily be playing for the lottery next season. Yeah, I mean, I the one thing is Larry Riley picked Steph. Jerry West was here, and
Larry
Jerry
was there
obviously
for the other drafts too, for Klay and Trey as well.
And he was there to say we're not trading Klay for Kevin Love.
Correct.
So I don't know. I'm not really sure who the architect's going to be. I'll say this: I really believe in Larry Harris.
Rare is the draft that produces more than 10 NBA players. I mean, it's just
there's a lot of failure.
It's a lot more failure than it will be success. And unfortunately, when the Warriors had the biggest bite at the reset apple, they bit James Wiseman, and that just did not work out. Maybe he will, but it didn't.
That was one of the worst drafts ever. Like, what would you have done if you were in the Warriors' shoes that year?
Right.
Yeah, Kongwu.
Yeah, they would have been better with Desmond Bain.
You would have been fucking clowned if you did that with the number 2 pick. You
I don't give a shit what anyone else says. Okongwu just looked like a Warriors big. He's
well, I mean,
versatile, he's mobile, he's switchable.
I agree, but I mean, since we ran off Wiseman and said that he, hasn't done it yet, there's other, you look at some of those other kind of bigger players in that draft. Okongwu lit it up? Not yet, not in my mind.
I can't blame the Wiseman pick because
Pokachevsky lit it up for OKC for the Thunder. No. But a lot of people still believe in him. I mean, it's just Zeke Naji, he's developing. There's some good players that were picked later who are still developing that, whose teams are not moving off of those players.
Sengun.
Was he in this draft?
James Wiseman might still be a spectacular player when it's done. The fact that they came off him for, 6 games of Gary Payton II is going to – I'm still surprised that they weren't able to incorporate him or use him just based on size and pick and roll ability. And having said all that, he set the softest screen I've ever seen a 7'2" kid set in my whole fucking life. I mean, like, I don't know.
He looked like a fish out of water. He absolutely looked like a fish out of water.
It's a weird player. It was a weird pick, but I would have made the pick in the moment. I think it's total revisionist history to say that they fucked that up on draft night. I thought it was pennies from heaven on draft night. I thought, sweet, Anthony Edwards went number 1. Look who just fell to you.
I mean, I won't question it. I was cheering it at the time.
Yeah, so was I. It didn't fit.
So I'm
maybe
just
Cyrus
as
is
fucked up
right.
as
It
everybody
didn't
else.
fit because Steve Kerr and Kenny Atkinson totally blew it. I don't know. I don't know why it didn't work. The same way I don't know why Jonathan Kuminga didn't work out, but I got to give Steve Kerr enough credit to know enough about who fits around Steph Curry. And if you don't fit around Steph Curry, you can't be here long.
But it didn't work this year, though. I mean, like Kerr, we went with the team. Obviously, he's the shot caller. They went with Kerr's thought process, which is that Wiseman needs to go. That Kuminga, who by the way played a lot this season, he was integral in a late season push when we didn't even know if the Warriors were going to be a play-in team, a playoff team. Kuminga was playing in all those games and making a difference. And for him to go from that to persona non grata in the playoffs is a fucking crime, man. It's bullshit. So I don't understand how you can defend Kerr given what happened with the team this year. For the people in the chat, by the way,
4 rings shot side. That's what I mean. Come on, I mean,
George
you know
Stevens
why
won
people.
2 rings. Is he a genius coach, or did he inherit a fucking stacked team and just did wonders with it?
Well, okay. First of all, everybody, you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And here's the one thing that you absolutely cannot deny:
okay.
if Steve Kerr tomorrow, if the Warriors announced Steve and us are going in a different direction. I mean, I think it's very, very, very likely that like 6 other coaches would then coaching spots would suddenly open because there would be a bidding war for Steve Kerr.
Maybe.
And Steve Kerr would be the number 1 paid coach in the league, and there would be a bunch of teams that would want him. I mean, there was a bidding war when he came to the Warriors.
But that doesn't. But that doesn't represent.
So I'm just saying he's highly coveted. He's highly coveted.
Being coveted doesn't mean.
I'm not saying he's perfect, but I'm just saying he's highly coveted. I mean, it's the same. Grant Cohn makes this argument to me every week. You know, Kyle Shanahan should be dumped. You know what? That's fine, and Grant can make his point about it. But I always say back to him, Grant, if tomorrow they fired Kyle, there'd be like 5 other NFL coaches that would get dumped, and all those teams would be bidding for Kyle Shanahan. So I do understand that.
Larry, sometimes people have a particular unique dislike or discomfort with a coach, his style, his system. We all know that Steve Kerr is an outstanding coach, but Cyrus does have the right to not see that.
No, it's fine. I mean, we're not going to bang heads all night on it. I'm just saying that what defines a good coach, and to me, part of it, what defines it is the marketplace. Like the marketplace.
I don't agree.
He just lost his first. He just lost his first series in the Western Conference.
19-1.
19-0 he was.
Playoff series.
And
you're saying he's not a genius. I think that would fit into the box of genius. Phil Jackson would say yes. Greg Popovich would say yes. And they too only won when they had Hall of Fame players.
Well, I will say this: Phil Jackson was not considered to be an all-time great until he did it with 2 different teams. He actually did it with 3 different teams. Kerr's only had this one team, and I feel like they've underperformed a lot. 2021 is not going to be lost on me. 2016, when he let this team pursue 73 wins over a championship, not going to be lost on me. No one's perfect, but he inherited greatness. And I'm not going to sit here and bow down and worship him just because the marketplace says
he's inherited a team that got beat in the first round of the playoffs. That's what he inherited. A team that lost to the Clippers in the first round of the playoffs.
That's not fair because they were also injured.
That is fair because that's fact.
But they were an injured team that year that they lost in 7 games in the first round. I mean, they also went to the
first of all, wait. He took over a 50-win Mark Jackson team, and they led him to 67 wins. They had a 17-game improvement in year 1.
The failure of the 73-win season has nothing to do with Steve Kerr. And the pursuit of 73 wins is one of the coolest big dick moves I've ever seen in my entire fucking life.
Leandro Barbosa told me personally that their pursuit of that cost them the championship.
Was it that or was it Draymond getting suspended? I mean, come on. If Draymond's not suspended, they probably end that finals in 5-6 games.
Okay, so Damon, you're going to disagree with a player on that team who has a strong opinion, and all the players have said that. They regretted chasing that mark because they spent too much energy and were exhausted. By the end, I don't know how you can sit here and say that.
I don't think that they lost the NBA Finals because they were exhausted. I thought they lost the NBA Finals because LeBron pinned, fucking Iguodala, and Maurice Spates missed the most wide open layup I've ever seen in the NBA Finals in my life. I mean,
injured Andre Iguodala, who may not have been injured if he wasn't spent chasing that mark, and injured Andrew Bogut, who wasn't even playing. That who knows if they didn't pursue that mark and they rested themselves a little more. And
they were up 3-1.
What's up?
They were up 3-1 though.
And they lost.
Yeah, but Draymond got suspended game 5.
Why are you making I hear fucking excuses all the time. They lost. I feel like Kerr to me is an underachieving coach. They could do better than what they did.
They lost the 16 championship because of Kerr.
They could have won 6 if they had a more competent coach. I really
believe the guy who's won more titles than anyone in franchise history is an underachieving coach. Like,
yes,
your expectations of year in, year out excellence are born out of fucking gummies and weed, dude. Like, there's no realm of world that exists that could ever satisfy you if the last decade of basketball couldn't satisfy you.
That's
you
not
are
true.
unsatisfiable. You are insane.
Don't be a hypocrite, first of all, because you got the ganja jar sitting right in front of you, Stoner. Secondly, yes, if I see a great team and they could, and I feel like they can win more, and they
don't. Danny, I see you got shrooms there, Danny, under your arm. I see shrooms. I see Carl. That's a freak. I see something in the background.
My hands are clean.
Take off that ring. What's inside that ring?
As high as I have ever been, I know that Steve Kerr is the single greatest coach in the history of this franchise, and to regard him as an underachiever is a comical misrepresentation of the facts and the truth. And
your opinion, David.
No, it's not an opinion.
It's
not an opinion.
It's
not an opinion.
It's a fact. He won 4 NBA titles.
They should have won 5 or 6. With this team, they should have won 5 or 6.
They should have won 5 or 6. You know what? Bill Belichick should have won more too. Does he have to go now? Was it fucking him and he didn't win it all? And Nick Saban, every single time that Alabama loses a national championship, he's got to get fired, dude. You're operating in a realm.
I think the point is the point is, Cy, that everybody's trying to impart to you is that I think you need to acknowledge that you have a very high standard.
Yeah, fair.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we could all agree there. I mean, whether you think that standard is fair, not fair, right, wrong, whatever, I think we could all agree that you have a very high standard.
Well,
because let's be honest, Warrior team had Brian Winters.
I've never criticized Kerr.
And Dave Cowens.
I've never criticized Kerr until this year. But this was a team that was pursuing a repeat world championship, pursuing a 5th world championship for Stephen Curry, and they came out and were 44-38, a 6 seed, and an 11-30 road team. I blame Kerr for that.
Yeah, he did miss a lot of open looks.
Carl says, is this the most Wiseman has ever been talked about on the show? This is from hours ago. What about Draymond Green? Does he opt out? None of us think Draymond's opting out.
And speaking one more thing of Wiseman, I know the players, you mentioned it's Curry's team, and if you can't play with Curry, I could tell you this: there's guys that you won't hear it publicly, but they wanted to move on from Wiseman. Some of the vets, they just did.
Yeah, but Danny,
nothing personally.
Yeah, but I mean, Danny, here's what I would say. LeBron's one of the greatest players of all time. He's also a goddamn awful general manager that almost sunk his franchise for like the next 5 years by forcing them to go after Russell Westbrook. So does that make him any less great? No. The Warrior players, if Bob Myers had listened to them, they never would have had GP2. They would have had Avery Bradley. It's well documented that Steph and Klay and Draymond preferred Avery Bradley to GP2. But Myers said, nah, you know what? No, we're going to go with GP2. All I'm saying is you don't listen to the fans and you don't always listen to your players. You need to hear your players, but you don't need to listen to your players.
The players were the same players that wanted Wiseman gone, Dan. We're talking Steph, Draymond. Those are the players who wanted to draft Draymond. They were saying before the draft how they wanted
Wiseman to draft Wiseman. Sure.
Yes. So the same players who now want Wiseman gone were the same guys who were advocating to take the kid.
Sure. I mean, he was the logical choice though at 2. I mean, you didn't get Edwards, so and LaMelo Ball. You already had Curry. Wasn't the right fit, so you needed a big. He was very talented, but they did after 3 seasons, they kind of saw that he wasn't going to fit in with the timeline. Not that he can't be great down the road, but he wasn't going to fit in the system with Curry and Green and Thompson and those guys that who the Warriors are going to ride with for the
we're
next.
We're talking this to in circles and to death.
Yeah.
Let me move the thing before we end this. We all, live in the Bay, or I mean, obviously Danny's in Arizona, but basically we're all Bay Area sports people, and we got a good sense of the Bay. What do you think, guys? What do you think the rank and file Warrior fan? Is he happy as punch because, man, they were so bad for so long? Are they blaming Jordan Poole in mass? Are they going to blame Klay Thompson in mass and turn on Klay, even though he was in some ways like their favorite player? I mean, what do you think the Warrior audience is going to advocate for? What's going to be their reaction to ducking out here in round 2?
I think you've got 3 different audiences, though, Larry. You've
Fair.
got the old guard, the people who've been around for 25 years or more. They've grown up here. They've watched the Warriors. They went through the hell days. Some of them can even still remember the glory years of the late 70s and early 80s when they were pretty good. But those people, my friends, the people I talk to, yeah, they're disappointed. Yeah, they wanted to go far. If I had to be honest, most of them just wanted to beat the Lakers in this series. Many of them didn't necessarily think the Warriors were going to get to the championship, but they would have loved to have enjoyed the ride if they could have got to the finals. The younger, more just kind of jumped on the bandwagon group that have kind of been around for the last decade, that have had nothing but parties except for, basically a year and a half of kind of a little bit of dog meat time because of all the injuries that they had. Those people are going to feel like, hey, they need to make all these massive changes and do this and do that. As Damon said, the reality in sports is you got to be ready to ride the Ferris wheel. Ferris wheels do not spend all their time vertical. There's a point in time where you're going to be at the bottom and on the sides. The Warriors are moving down a little bit. Can they retool? We'll see. Will the same front office, the same players be around when they're back at the top? I don't know, but I do know this. The last 10 years has been the most enjoyable, fun basketball to watch that I've ever seen in NBA history.
I agree. The amount of fun times that I've had enjoying this dynastic run, watching it with my friends, watching it with my family. It's been spectacular. It's been a great run, and I don't want it to be over. That's why I'm looking at ways. What can the Warriors do to stay back on top? Because I still think it's within reason. I think they're a rotation player or 2 away from still being able to compete at a championship level. So I don't think this dynasty is over. They do need to retool, get another rotation or player or 2, improve the roster. But dynasty, I'm not calling it a wrap yet.
Damon, what do you think? What's you've got a good sense of the Bay Area fan. You've been talking to him for 20 years. How is not the Warrior fan that's totally illogical, but the Warrior fan that you think represents the masses?
You just got the greatest sports blowjob you're ever going to have in your entire life, and if you can't recognize that, this is clearly your first blowjob.
It's well said. It's well said.
That's it. That's straight up. If you don't know that you just got the greatest blowjob of your life by a team you're ever going to have, this must be the first time you've ever been with someone who given you a blowjob. This is the greatest thing you will ever be handed as a fan in your entire fucking life. I hope you appreciated it.
Bill Simmons wrote this article in 2012 for Grantland. It was, I forgot the headline was, but it was all about the tortured Warriors fan base. And it was so eloquently written. It captured, I think, the essence of the struggle that Warriors fans dealt with for decades. And literally after he wrote that thing, the Warriors went up. If you remember the old days, you're a certain class of Warriors fans, and going to what Carl said about age groups. And then you have the new ones who have no idea what that struggle was. You say I have high standards. I'll say 2 things to that. One is I don't want to see the Warriors ever go back to the way it was. So every time I sense that, I freak out a little bit. I don't want those days anymore. And I think anyone who remembers those days has traumatized a little bit. But two, time is short, and I just don't like seeing the Warriors blow opportunities. I do strongly believe that they should have had more than 4 titles. This was a team that had the potential for 5 or 6. Steph had a chance to claim the title of greatest point guard ever, but you need those rings to make those arguments. That's where my frustration comes from. Is it a high standard? Yes, but it's a standard that I also think the Warriors could have achieved. And for this year, for them to fail at that, it came on coaching, in my opinion.
Red, what do you think? Oh, go ahead, Carl. You wanted to jump in?
Just real quick to Cyrus. If the Warriors end up winning the year that they went 73-9, they go back to back. Do the Warriors have a chance to three-peat with that same lineup with Harrison Barnes? Because they would not have had Kevin Durant for 3 years.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, if they would have won that, they would have proven they can. And
that they'd have had a much tougher time because the league got better and they needed a more elite player to help augment their other 2 stars. I don't think they would have three-peat, and I don't know if that team could have won 4 or 5 titles. Maybe they could have won a third, but I couldn't see it. They'd have had to revamp somehow, and they got lightning in a bottle getting an opportunity to have Kevin Durant for 2 years. He got the same benefit playing with them. They had a great win last year. It was an amazing, unpredictable win.
No, Carl, I predicted it. I hate when you say that, man. Me and Stephen A. Smith, since August of that year, were confident and loudly saying I was loud, man. I knew that fucking team was going to win a title. In the same way, I was not confident this year for what I was seeing very early on with the way Kerr was handling this team. I predicted that shit from the beginning, dude. And I'll say this.
So did Steve Kerr do a great coaching job last year?
Yes.
So he was a genius.
And he did a horrible job this year. But it also makes me wonder if Mike Brown was largely responsible for that because of how involved he was. I will say this too. The 2016 Warriors were better and deeper than the 2022 Warriors that also won a title. You just are swapping out Harrison Barnes for Andrew Wiggins, very similar players, but you also have a lot more depth. So I absolutely do think the Warriors could have run off a lot of titles if they had pulled that off. I do.
It's an unbelievable amount of people in the chat. I have been unable to get to the bottom of the chat. TK Yang says, Larry, do you think when we play Detroit again, will fans cheer or boo James Wiseman? I don't care.
Cheer.
They'll probably cheer him.
People like him. He's a great kid. You just want to see him become a great player over time. It's just not going to happen here.
A guy named Lee Hammer, not the failed program director, but a different Lee Hammer, says Alan Smileygeach. Just for the fuck of it. Just for the fuck of it.
Lacob's boy. If you want Kirk Lacob to take over GM, Alan Smileygeach, that was his guy.
Fred, what's your sense of the Bay Area as far as the next 24, 72 hours? What do you think much of Warrior fandom is what's going to be their arrival point? Will they be appreciative of the run? Will they be bitter at Kerr, Myers, Poole, Wiggins, whatever? I mean, what's the reaction? Do people take the high road because, man, they've done so much winning and it's been a great run, especially after so much losing? Or are there so many new fans that the standard is now so high that there'll be a lot of saltiness tomorrow and the next day?
I think geography and I think age matters, depending upon how you look at the Warriors. For people who are a little older, who have seen the ebbs and flows of this organization, I think Damon eloquently stated that, if you drink alcohol, maybe you have a drink. If you have a cup of coffee and just appreciate what you watched over a long period of time, you kind of tip your hat to all of the sweat, the front office marvel techniques that they've used to put the team together. I get the sense that, I get eerie when I see people bombarding that Golden State Warriors team store, that fan base. Because it's like, yo, man, this is not reality. It's not. It's really hard to win. So hopefully they'll be educated by listening to programs like this and others that will kind of talk them off the edge and really educate them about basketball, because it's not as bad as they might think it is. And at the same time, to ascend to that level again, it's going to be pretty difficult to do. So, I think education is the key. If people who are, quote, professionals jump on board and tell them that the sky's falling, then that's how they're going to feel. But if they listen to the entities that are educating them, and those individuals are sensible, then they'll learn something, because to expect the Warriors to do what they've done over the past half decade or so is just crazy, man. Come on.
I mean, Steve Kerr said it best when he said so many times to me during the heyday of it all, this is not the real NBA.
No, it's not.
You got so used to the Warriors being so omnipotent that you expect that to just last forever. It can't last forever. The Warriors used to play a style of basketball that the league was unfamiliar with. The worst team in the NBA plays the same style of basketball as the Golden State Warriors used to right now. The league caught up. There's another evolutionary step that is going to be made, and I doubt that the Warriors will be the next first team to that step. You don't get to be, I mean, that's the thing. Apple can only invent the iPhone once. Okay. You can tweak it, you can update it, but you can only change the way the entire globe communicates once. And the Warriors were that team. They were the team that changed the way the entire sport is played globally. To expect them to do that over and over and over again and be ahead of the curve of the entire sport in perpetuity and all time is a fool's errand.
You're right.
What they have done is extraordinary. It is nothing short of extraordinary. Even Cyrus, if, I agreed with you implicitly saying that they came up short along the way on their route of extraordinary, it doesn't make the extraordinary less extraordinary. They sustained a level of excellence over a period of time that most NBA franchises will be unfamiliar with for all time.
True.
They are on a level of only Celtics ever did it in a league where it was black and white television and there were 16 teams, and the Lakers for a minute there, and the Bulls with the single greatest player that ever lived before LeBron James became the next single greatest player that ever lived.
And the Spurs were in there for quite a while.
Kobe. Let's not forget Kobe.
The Spurs were something else. Kobe, look, you got to call Kobe the single greatest underachiever of all time if you're holding him to the same standards that you hold the Warriors to. Kobe Bryant literally pouted and took NBA Finals games off because he was mad at Phil Jackson. Let's not rewrite history just to make the Warriors look like underachievers. Kobe is one of the single greatest underachievers of all time, according to the standard that you're applying to the Golden State Warriors.
Oh, let me finish this point. I lost my point. Listen, if Kevin Durant stays with OKC, in my view, OKC wins the championship the next year.
Could have.
I mean, listen, if you go back to Game 6 and you watch that game, OKC was up like 8 or 10 points with like 4 minutes to go. And guess what? Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook just turned the ball, unforced turnovers, had nothing to do with coaching, nothing at all. They just dropped the ball out of bounds. It was insane. And then what did Kevin do? Kevin goes, you know what? I'm going to leave. Wait a minute. You were a part of that 4 or 5 minute fiasco that allowed the Warriors to do what they did and give them all the credit in the world, win a championship. I loved it because it was miraculous. But if you watch that game, the last 4 minutes, that was all Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. That was it. And go ahead.
Winning championships is hard.
Mm-hmm.
In 2018, the Houston Rockets technically were in position to maybe get their first title since Hakeem played for them. But when the clutch moment hit, just like what happened in OKC in Game 6, They couldn't perform. They missed 27 straight jumpers. That's what the Warriors look like tonight in the first half. They just couldn't buy a bucket. Sometimes it's just against you. I've got friends hitting me up on Facebook, sending me texts about the Lakers. I've got the Nuggets beating the Lakers in 5 games because they're going to find out the exact same thing the Warriors found out. They got a player we can't do nothing with.
The Nuggets are good, man. By the way, some new news has dropped just while we were doing our show, which is kind of fascinating. Like Draymond Green, for example, he left the game in the fourth quarter with that calf injury, and he said he was going to come back into the game, and Bob Myers stopped him in the tunnel and said, "Don't go in." And he listened to him, and then followed that up by saying that
why? Because why? Yeah. No, go ahead. Why?
Well, then he followed up and also said that Green said he's very concerned about the future of Warriors general manager Bob Myers, and that it could play a role in his decision to stay with the Warriors. The why of it is because I think Bob Myers wanted to preserve Draymond and protect him from getting possibly injured more. So that was the why of that.
So basically just saying it's over. Don't bother. Don't bother.
Yeah, exactly. And don't hurt yourself.
Well, Myers cares about the players, more than just
tremendously. That the relationships he has with players is huge. That's part of his value.
Was he telling Wiggins, you know what, Wiggins, you got a fractured rib cartilage. You should sit this one out. I mean, come on.
No, I mean, if he's able to play,
if Draymond could help win the game, if the
game was over,
it was over. It was over.
Yeah, they were down 18 with 7 to play.
That was nice.
I'll say this: as far as the fans, I've probably been a fan the longest. Maybe me and Carl. I grew up in the Bay Area.
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say about Carl?
Well, you're just talking about the fans. I mean, Carl and I are about.
Why'd you single out Carl though?
No. Black don't crack, Dan.
Carl's 17 years old. What the fuck? Carl's getting ready for tomorrow night's senior prom. Why are you
let me take my. Okay, I can do that too, Carl. I got the same head.
Look at Dan. That's a shine, man. That's
can't have too much shine in the show. A little right there in the middle. If I take mine off, it gets balanced. The light's got to stay a little balanced here. So, no, I would say this as a fan from the 60s when they were the San Francisco Warriors to moving to Oakland to winning a title, their first title in 75 with, led by Rick Barry and at the time he was Keith Wilkes and Phil Smith and that team to the next year, the disappointment to losing to the Suns in Game 7, losing Game 6 and 7. I think they lost, but totally, then watching it kind of go through the rough years of, no playoffs for how many straight years. This was an incredible run, and not just the fact that they won 4 NBA titles, but they were in 17, for really 15, 16, and 17 and 18, they dominated. They lost that one to Cleveland, but they were so dominant in it. And it was like, remember 17, it was like a given. If they stayed healthy, no one was going to even come close to beating them. And, they ran away with it. What'd they win? Like, did they go 16 and
1?
16 and 1 in the playoffs? That was unbelievable. And then followed up in 18 with another title. And then 19, they're on the precipice of winning a third straight. And then Klay and Durant go down. And wasn't Bogut hurt too or something? Yes. Everybody was hurt. So
come on, let's be honest. I'm 53 years old. The Warriors won a title when I was 5. The rest of my life until this regime came along was me being consoled by Carl and Frank about how bad the Warriors were as we sat there and watched it, talking about life,
Yeah.
Well, what do you think, Carl? Yeah, I know Bobby Sir is getting better. What do you think, Frank? Yeah, Cummings to Mills to Starks. Yeah, they could do better. We can't pretend.
Remember when Marco Bellinelli had all those points in the summer league game? That was literally the entire.
Carl, do you remember this one? Anthony Randolph.
Yes.
Bellinelli was having lunch with Tony Salvador, man. Remember they were tight. having
They went to Umbria. They went to Umbria.
Frank remembers. Frank
the
remembers.
carbonara that day.
Hey, Frank, the kid from the Billikens is our guy. Hey, Larry Hughes, we're ready to roll.
Montego Cummings.
Montego
That will be the pick that changes everything.
He burned some grass, but guess what? That's a hell of an athlete.
Respect what Ashley Keating posted. I do agree with that.
Diagu dominated the Pac-12.
Ike Diagu, Carl
was dominant.
The
Montego Cummings,
existed.
another great Fordham alumni.
Yeah,
The Warriors existed,
Chris
so
Taft.
Clippers and Hawks fans could also tell jokes.
Gary St. Jean had his own parking spot in Secaucus.
I was just thrilled back in the 70s when they had, the draft picks of Phil Smith and Gus Williams from USC, who was a second-round pick who went on to be a great player. And then they had Derek Dickey and Jeff Mullins and
I was optimistic about Tom Gugliotta. I had hope for Danya Marshall.
First of all, Ashley Keating wrote something which I think is very astute. And it leads into something which is that the expectations, the standard has changed. There are certain teams in sports where it's championship or bust. And I feel like the Warriors are at that level now. It's championship or bust. If they don't win and again, maybe that's a high standard, but in New England with Bill Belichick, that's a standard there. And there's it's very
not anymore. It's not, because Tom Brady's
some
gone.
are championship or bust. And I do feel the Warriors are at that level. What?
They're not anymore, Cyrus. They're not anymore. It's not championship or bust
Stephen
anymore. It's try to win as many games as you can with Steph Curry. And if you can actually get him into one more NBA final, that would be extraordinary. But NBA life cycles do not extend to 20 years of Tom Brady played for the Patriots. It just doesn't work like that, man.
Why do you believe that,
as long as
why do you believe that?
Steph, that should be the standard.
Even if he's older and he's starting to diminish in his overall efficiency, you still think that the Warriors should win a championship?
Well, he's got tuberculosis in the eye.
I'm sorry?
Steph's not there yet, though. He's not regressing.
I think he is. Yeah, he is.
I don't think so. I
don't think he is regressing. He scored 50 in Game 7, but they stopped him. Defensively, the Lakers were number one in the league for a reason.
Larry, can you block people? Larry, can you block assholes in the chat who seem to focus on me? Either let me address them or block their fucking asses, like the car gods. Go fuck yourself.
I can't even get to the bottom of the chat. I'm spinning it down as fast as possible.
Reading the same asshole over and over again, and like you're hiding as a keyboard warrior anonymously,
Damon, give Cy some advice.
Don't worry about any of those dickheads.
I don't care. It's not that easy, man.
Seriously, Cy, this is where decades on the radio helps
Larry,
us.
please, either let me address these people. I can't
find him, Cy. Which one is it?
Joey Nichols. Joey Nichols, block that motherfucker right now, please.
Joey Nichols. What's
Joey Nichols? And or either stop fucking constantly criticizing me, or get fucking blocked, man. It's just your troll.
Larry, can you ask them to just criticize me instead?
And the car gods. Yeah, well,
I'll take all the car gods.
I got people on me too, side Tammy McDaniels or whatever.
Oh yeah, people.
They should shut up too.
We've all been.
Man.
The only person that's popular on this show is Frank. Everybody else is basically has people that want him off the show.
Eric doesn't get too much.
Baller, I should say, Baller sits there with his 805 throwing back drinks, and people are like, "I love Baller."
Fuck you for calling me names. I don't want to be called names. I don't think that's an excessive thing to ask for.
Damon, he needs advice.
Names, they're gonna stop with the name calling. All right, stop with the fucking name calling. You want to say man up? What position are any of you assholes in where you're getting criticism like this every fucking 2 seconds? I know it's the internet, but I can mute the internet. I can't mute you assholes right now. I can't help looking at this shit. And either stop fucking calling me names.
How do I see that so I can see all this?
Shut the fuck up, man. I
mean, because you're not. You just hit comments. You just hit comments.
I don't have comments up here.
Go back to click on private chat. There's nothing there. It's so much better than the other one. It just don't even worry about it, Cyrus.
I will say this.
Don't worry about. Welcome to the Dope Show. Doesn't matter.
This show has had so much traction that I have no less than 50 super chats that I have yet to get to. This guy, what's this? First of all, GTC Real says via Ryan Hensley, Draymond punch Poole for being disrespectful to Kerr and not listening, and more to it than that as well.
Do we know that?
I
Do we
like
know
Ryan,
that?
but I can't say that's like
Yeah,
I
I don't
can't
know if
take
we
that to
know
the
that.
bank. What's this? Sid Day? Is
Oh my
that $200?
Whoa.
No, that's not a dollar sign.
What is that?
I don't
Just
know what that
pounds or
is.
some shit. I don't know what that is.
I think that's
Danny?
Dogecoin. It's not real.
Some
Is
kind of
that,
peso.
is that Krugerrands? Is that
Maybe
South
it's-
African coins? I mean, what are
maybe
we
it's a-
talking about? What
Maybe it's
what
a
the,
peso or something.
should I be excited or is it 200 of nothing? He says no, Larry. GP2 was waived off. Then Steph and Dre called Bob and re-signed him. It was Dre's podcast recorded. Love the pod. Let's go Warriors.
It looks like an Atlanta Falcons.
I thought
Yeah.
that looks like
The Atlanta Falcons 200.
Oh, look at that! He kind of tricked you.
Is it 200?
Is it any
No.
kind of crypto or what is
It's
it?
not a
That's
dollar amount. I do
Yeah,
know
it's
that.
some kind of currency. Some kind of European currency is my guess.
All right, guys, let's finish with this. It's 12:30, and first of all, I just wanted to say, I think this is the best show there is as far as, when we get a bunch of people together who all know hoop and we let it rip. And I just love every single one of you guys individually. You know that. But I have great respect for every one of you guys as well. And this is the part of the show where I like to back off for just a second and promote you guys. We got 580 people in the room still. It's 12:30 at night. So
Big
let me
night,
just say
man.
this. Hit like and subscribe on this show. Please do. If you hit like, it just helps the algorithm have more people find the show. Not that we need more people, but we have, it'd be great. If you hit subscribe, every time we go live, you'll get alerted. And please hit like and subscribe. The likes help people find us. The subscriptions obviously help us cruise towards 18,000. And then, of course, if you want to be a channel member, it's $4.99 a month. I will get to every super chat that is there. I promise you that. If I haven't put it up yet, don't think I'm ignoring you. I will put it up. But this is the portion of the show where I want to help out my friends. Every one of you guys has your own platform and do great shit. So let's go right around the room. Bay Area Baller. I want everybody to go to Bay Area Baller's YouTube channel, which is Bay Area Baller 18. See it there right under his name. In fact, let's do this so people can see it even more. We'll move some people around here. So Bay Area Baller is right there. You see Bay Area Baller 18. You can see that there.
Mhm.
Go to his YouTube channel, hit like and subscribe, and help him grow his channel. Baller, how many people you got on the channel right now?
Yeah, we're over 1,000, 13, 1,400, something like that. And I'm going to be putting out, I've been watching a lot of these Niner draft prospects.
Yeah.
Krug, I know you love Braden Willis. I've been diving into some Oklahoma Sooner tape. Fellas, Braden Willis, the more I watch him, I just love this guy. He loves to hit people. He's so physical. So I got some prospect videos coming out. The draft schedule was just released, talking 49ers. So you'll get my opinions there. If you like Bay Area sports or sports in general, subscribe. Bay Area Baller
Look
18.
at this. Bay Area Baller 18.
Bay Area Baller
Boom,
18.
subscribed right
please,
there.
I'm
There's at least
calling
one
all my
more right
boys
there.
and saying that D. Bruce
Love it.
just subscribe. So I
Yeah,
appreciate
seriously.
that.
Everybody go
And
to Bay Area Baller 18. Subscribe to his channel. His content's awesome. As you can tell, he's a fucking great guy. He does Niners. He does Warriors. I'm going to let you go, brother. Get on with your night because it is 12:30, and I know you're a family guy and you got other shit going tomorrow. It's Mother's Day.
And
Happy
I'm gonna leave
Mother's
you with
Day
this.
to your lovely bride, and have a great Sunday, Baller. Thank you very much for appearing on these post-game shows, brother. And Bay Area Baller 18, everybody go sign up for his channel. Baller, you got a final thought on your way out?
I do. I want to thank you for bringing me aboard. I've had a blast this season talking post game with all you guys. Dan, Frank, Carl, D. Bruce, Cy. Love you guys. It's been a blast. Hey, this dynasty, I don't think it's over, fellas. I don't think it's over. They got to retool, make a couple changes, trade Jordan Poole, use that salary slot. This ain't over yet, fellas. Talk soon.
Peace. There you go.
Love it.
Danny, NorCal Sports Network. You see it right there on the bottom. Dan Coach Emilio, NorCal Sports Network. It's a brand new channel, like literally like weeks old or very, very months old as of March. Danny's just getting it started, doing a lot of post game on the Giants, Danny's a great resource talking Giants baseball, and he's a big Bay Area sports fan who knows all sports. Danny, go tell people where they can find your stuff, but I actually just did NorCal Sports Network, but plug the channel.
Yeah, NorCal Sports Network. We cover a lot of the Giants. I was down here being in Arizona, covered a lot of spring training.
All right, get the fuck out of here. Okay, get lost. No, I'm just joking, Dan. I mean, I always like to screw with Dan. I mean,
That always happens.
Dan's the one guy who can just totally screw it. So that, I always screw with him. But go ahead, Danny. I'm just joking.
I was just saying, got a lot of Giants content, a lot of player interviews up on the channel, NorCal Sports Network. I was in the clubhouse every day for spring training. I do post-game shows. You'll get real Giants coverage, not bandwagon stuff. I'll tell you like it is. I've told you from day one, this is not a playoff team. It's a 500 team. And
you would not, if you were able to interview Gabe Kapler, you wouldn't ask him on a 20 to 80 baseball scouting scale, what would you rate that pork chop like Pavlovich?
Yeah.
Danny wouldn't ask softball questions like that.
No, I don't ask softball questions.
Danny, Ron Barr called me today and he said, tell Danny I said hi. So there you go. Ron says to say hi. Danny, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you.
Sports Network. Subscribe. Boom. There's one more right there.
Awesome.
Look
Thank you,
at that.
David. Thank you.
Danny, have a great night, brother.
Yeah, have a good.
There you go. Danny from the desert. D. Bruce. Dude, you're, obviously you and I go way back as well. D. Bruce has got obviously a lot of talent, and he's got a great new YouTube channel, which is exploding, and he's doing great stuff on there. He just had, the guy from Fox on, right? I just saw your channel the other day was like fourth in your podcast was like fourth in the country.
Warriors Lakers have done the podcast an awful lot of good. The thing got downloaded an awful lot. And yeah, I'm up there with Bill Simmons, Dan Levitard, and pardon my take. It tickled me pink that it's been that successful so far. Follow the podcast, like and subscribe. Damon Bruce Plus. I'd appreciate it very, very much. We're building a little thing over here. It is, if you're looking for hot takes and sizzling clickbait, I'm not going to be for you. If you're looking for a realistic discussion of what the fuck is going on, I'm exactly for you. So I hope that you do subscribe. And as always, thank you so very much, Larry, for allowing me access to your huge network of not just listeners and subscribers, but Carl and Big Frank. And thank you, Cyrus, as always. I know we argued tonight, but that's no difference as us. That's what we do.
Hey, if we had a table in a sports bar, we would be arguing. We might be saying, Frank, you're right, but we would be arguing with each of the rest of us.
It's the end of a dynasty, man. This is a huge fucking night.
I know it is.
Of all the nights,
and the emotions are raw, and this is real. That's the one thing. I mean, the one thing that you're getting on this channel, and that you're getting from Damon's channel, and you're getting on Locked On, you're getting people who are not sitting here trying to butter everybody's freaking muffin, and you're getting people that are invested emotionally, mentally, but with a little perspective. Hopefully we're sharing all that with you. D. Bruce, tell your wife happy Mother's Day. Have a great Sunday, brother, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Right back. And Mrs. Krueger and all the moms out there, you're incredible. You're why we're all here in the first place. Thank you so very much. You guys have a great night. It was a pleasure as always. Thank you for having me.
Later,
take care.
Dave.
Love you, brother.
The great Damon Bruce.
Great. Yeah.
Carl Foster, it says Nuggets in 5. I do think the Nuggets are going to win. By the way, since now we've thinned out the room a little bit to just the four of us, who do you guys like to win it all?
Nuggets
to win it all.
They look good, man.
I like the Nuggets to be. I said that I've told Cy, at the beginning of the playoffs, I like the Nuggets to take the Warriors down. I didn't think this series mattered as far as I think the Nuggets win against either team. The question is, what about those Sixers? Sixers are looking pretty damn good.
Sixers will not get out of Boston. They gave up their opportunity in Game 6. They just choked it off, unfortunately. Boston will beat them. Boston will beat up on Miami just because they just have more talent, and Marcus Smart will be an absolute terror in that series. They have more size. They'll be able to control Jimmy a lot better than anybody else. They got at least 3 guys that can give Jimmy buckets a lot of challenge. But I love the chutzpah of Miami. I love their intensity and their toughness. But they've gone about as far as they're going to go. I think it'll be Denver going up against Boston, and I've got Denver because of Jokic getting some retribution for him not winning his 3rd MVP, and I think he'll be the Finals MVP.
Yeah, I think I like Denver as well. Carl, you're the man. Thank you very much for joining us in the in the playoffs here, and we'd love to do more stuff with you in the weeks and months ahead. And you're always welcome to join us on these live streams. Football season, baseball season, basketball season. A lot of times, as you can see, we're just kind of chopping it up. So I appreciate you.
Can I throw something out?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
I've gone on. This will be my 13th Christian mission trip that I've taken abroad. I have been to the Philippines 11 times. I'm going back in July. And if there's some people out there that would love to get an opportunity to support, I take a group of young men. Generally, they're college seniors. Also, sometimes I'll take an underclassman. They go as a part of our group with our basketball ministry. And if somebody has some interest, they can hit me up either by phone or by email. I'll even give out my phone number, which is 510-520-1926. That's 510-520-1926. Somebody can text me, send me your information via with your email address, and I'll send you some information in case you wanted to sponsor one of the young college students that are going on the trip. It's an amazing 15 days of going to serve and helping at our medical clinics and going out to the schools. And we also have our basketball team perform games in front of tens of thousands of fans in order to tell them more about the other services we're going to provide.
Send me a link on that. I'll put it out on social media on all my different platforms and see if we can drive some donations and help underwrite that awesome effort.
I will do that.
Carl, have a great night, man. It's 12:42 in the morning. I appreciate you going the late night.
There's 2 huge Warriors stories, by the way. I don't know if you want to stick around to hear that. Like,
go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, and these are big. One is and Shams Charania and The Athletic are breaking all these stories. So take that for what it's worth. The first one, and I'll start off with the lighter one, which is if Bob Myers does not come back, the Warriors reportedly will go internal for his replacement. And this is what Shams is writing. The likely successor is who Larry said, man, and this sucks, would be assistant general manager Mike Dunleavy Jr.
Mm-hmm.
That would be awful, man. The dynasty is just crumbling as we speak. And then the bigger one, this is much bigger. After the game, Jonathan Kuminga, who wasn't very active on Twitter, he liked a tweet that said, "Stay away from people that ignore you until they need you." And then soon after that, Shams Charania and The Athletic are writing that the Warriors and Kuminga's representatives are expected to discuss his future this offseason. League sources say Golden State will need to decide whether Kuminga will receive a full-time role moving forward. And if not, league sources say the number 7 pick in the 2021 NBA draft will want to be somewhere he can play more, unquote. So he wants a player, he's out.
Seems reasonable.
I mean, that seems reasonable. And also, I could see the Warriors parlaying, they've got a number of, whether we like them or don't, whether we're frustrated by them or not, Jordan Poole's a talent. Jonathan Kuminga's a talent. Basketball people like them. And I don't know that they want Jordan at that contract price. I don't know, if Kuminga's everybody's cup of tea, but they're talented young players, and there's undoubtedly a trade market for them. And I think you're going to see all kinds of rumors here in the weeks ahead. And I think this is going to be a really juicy offseason. I wouldn't be surprised if Poole and Kuminga were included in the same kind of a deal. You may need to sweeten that deal with a Kuminga to get a piece back that you want. So there'll be a lot of options on the table for sure for the Warriors trade-wise if they want to move Jonathan Kuminga or Jordan Poole. Poole will be harder to move because of the size of that contract, but It's not immovable by any stretch. There's a lot of big contracts around the NBA.
And here's a huge reason why I don't call Kerr a great coach. He's a good coach. He's fine. Who has he ever developed? Like he's inherited everything in his coaching career. I've never seen him like Jordan Poole is supposedly one of the success stories. Is that a success story? He regressed this year. Kevon Looney is supposedly a success story. Okay, he's a good player.
I mean, everybody's got different strengths. I would say if you said to me, what's Kerr's weakness? What's his strength? I would say his weakness is that is until he proves that he can develop young players, he's an unproven developer of young talent. I'd say that I think that's fair. But where he's really good is from, keeping the group together. The one thing you might see some fracturing right now today with some of these quotes and, oh my God, things are broken up behind the scenes, but there's so many NBA teams that fracture along the way. And for the most part, he keeps the group together and he keeps all the issues in house. And, I think that like last year's a good example. I don't know that the Warriors were the best team in the league, but they stayed together and kind of grew together over time. And they were standing at the end and they won a title because of it, where other teams had as much talent, but they fractured along the way. So I think there's something truly genius to what Phil Jackson did for years with the Bulls and with the Lakers and what Steve does now with the Warriors, which is keep navigating the campaign and keeping everybody pulling the rope in the same direction. But I think it's fair. I absolutely think it's fair to question his decisions and question his inability to get more out of Wiseman, Kuminga, and Moody this year. I mean, they moved off of some veterans. They needed those three guys to step up. Two of the three of them were non-factors. One was a minor factor. I think that collectively is one of the major factors of why they're at home. So
I like Massimo Maximus. I'm on team Brent Barry, man. I want Brent Barry as the next head coach. I've said that before, and now that the dynasty is crumbling, I'm 100%.
Why is that? You said that before. Why is that?
Well, a couple of reasons. One is his dad was Rick, so he grew up just being. I mean, his entire brain is basketball. He's played for a championship team, so he has that experience. And he's currently being groomed to replace R.C. Buford in San Antonio as the GM. I think the Warriors should come in there and steal him before that happens. And he has the exact same background as Kerr did. GM, no head coaching experience previously. It worked out fine for Kerr. I think it worked out fine for Brent. And he's a good people person, man. So
okay.
I'm all in on Brent Barry.
We do have one before you jet, Frank, that people are Amar Singh is put a super chat out there, and he's like, what was Frank saying about Steph regressing? He'd like you to expand on that thought.
Okay. All right. I think 3 or 4 years ago, Steph was as close to a two-way player as he's ever been. And I think just because of age and attrition, and just because he's getting older, his win. When I watch him, Steph used to be a gazelle. He's one of the most conditioned athletes in the NBA now, but he used to be on another level. And I saw him 3 or 4 years ago. He's one of the top rebounding point guards in the NBA. He set really, really hard screens, and his rotations were even better. I think he was a better on-ball defender than he is right now. It doesn't mean he doesn't exhibit effort, because he does. But 3 or 4 years ago, I think he had the mentality and the physical ability to say, all you people who think that I can't play defense, watch me. And he was championship level, in my opinion. Right now, he's leaning offense more than defense. And 3 or 4 years ago, I don't think that was the case based on his ability, right? So that's my perspective on where I think there is some slippage. I also, even late in games now, if Steph Curry has a wide open jump shot, book it. But his ability, sometimes, like, we're not used to seeing these long stretches of him not making shots. Now, maybe that was just a thing that he'll fix next year. I mean, the guy's great, but I do see a little bit of regression. I think I do in his overall game. I just do.
I think it's fair. I think that's a fair analysis. All right, it's 10-1. I've got 51 super chats here that I've got to get to because people have donated cash and I cannot ignore them. But I also don't want you guys to just be sitting there for till 1 o'clock in the morning. So I'll let you guys go at this point. Cy, good to see you. You got a final thought on the loss?
This is a crazy. I mean, for the Warriors, for the fans, for the organization, this is a very pivotal moment. I mean, this is the most interesting offseason in franchise history. What we're about to engage in. It's going to be fun to cover it. It's and I just hope the right decisions are made and follow the program. Locked On Warriors. We're the only daily 5-day week show covering the team.
And you stick with it, right? You stick with it in the off season.
What's up?
You stick with it you go 5 days a week in the off season.
Correct. Yeah. 24/7.
So Cy's going to be talking about Chicago pre-draft. He's going to be talking about the draft. People were laughing about my Baylor Shireman, but go check him out. He can shoot the ball.
Dude, your chat is out of control, man. These little keyboard warriors, I guarantee none of you would ever say this shit to me in person.
Don't get caught up.
I just wish you'd block these fuckers, man. I really wish you'd block some of these people. It's getting old.
It's
getting old. It's getting very old.
Sorry, do you have to subscribe to listen to your program? I mean,
no, it's just on YouTube or it's on every podcast platform.
Okay, all right. Because I tried one time and it brought up like the subscribe dollar amount. I didn't know. Like, I'm not real technical, so maybe I'm not doing something right. But
no,
I
it's
want to
free.
hear you.
It's free.
Okay, I want to hear your
It's
program.
free.
And I'm going to get you on at some point, man. Because once the off season comes, I want. First of all, where our Locked On my show is like migrating to the platform that Larry uses.
Right.
So I can actually bring people on for live shows, unlike what I'm doing now. It only works for like every other person. I want to bring all you. I want to bring Carl back on. Frank, you're long overdue to come on. Yeah, we'll make that happen, man, for sure.
Awesome, man. Yeah, listen, I really enjoy hearing your passion. I mean, no one can say that you're not passionate, dude. You're very passionate, and you got thousands of people out there who are like on team side, man. So I really dig it. I just wish that you didn't care what people think so much because in
my defense, like this is the only place where I see like asshole opinions constantly coming to my face. Like like I might get like 1 or 2 people on Locked On, and I make it very clear. It's like, just don't be a dick. Don't call me names. Like, I don't care if you disagree. We could disagree on things, but don't start sitting here calling me like the name calling gets old fast.
Yeah,
and
no, it's well, you gotta remember this, Cy. The opposite of love is not hate. It's indifference. And indifference, there's you got to remember this, Cy. You're putting out your message to the ether, right? It's 5 minutes to 1. There's 500 people in here watching this at this point. So Car God says you've disrespected Larry's channel. Mm-hmm. I would not have Cy on if I felt like he disrespected the channel. Cy, have a great night, brother. We'll talk to you.
You guys.
There you go.
At Big Frank Red. Follow me on Twitter.
Oh yeah, and, let me pull this down for a second here so people can see on the bottom there. At Big Frank Red on Twitter. Everybody follow Frank Red. We got 500 people in the room right now. Follow Frank Red. He puts out a lot of great stuff. Commenting not just on this series but other series, other sports. So Frank, great stuff, man. Have a great great rest of your weekend. And man, I really do appreciate all the hours that we've been chopping it up through the years, but especially this playoff run. It's been so awesome. It's been awesome, and we'll do more of it in the days ahead. So, thank you very much, sir. Have a great night.
All right, bye-bye.
There you go, Frank Red. And then there was 2, Carl Foster and yours truly. Carl, lots of good stuff, man. I mean, I can't even tell you. I'm of all the people that that we've had on the show, the one that I'm just so thrilled that has joined the mix here in the last couple of weeks has been you, because you and I go way back and we talk a lot of basketball, and it's always enjoyable. I got great respect for your knowledge, your passion, your perspective. We're not always going to agree, but we always have great respect for one another. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for giving our audience, all these people in the chat, your expertise and your perspective.
I gave him my phone number.
You gave him their exactly 510-1926 510-520-1926.
Hey, all they got to do is text me. I'll be happy to send them some information about what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
I never hide. I'm from North Richmond.
That's right. That's right. Carl, have a great Sunday, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
There you go. The great Carl Foster. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Jumbo Jack says all of your guests are entertaining to listen to, Larry. You know what this is? It's a hang. That's what it is. Brent E2 says very cathartic. Thank you. We got this one from DMBGSW. Larry, Smitty, sigh, cry. All right. Let's hit some super chats, and then we'll finish strong here. We got this one from 808 Niner. He says they got punked. Klay isn't that dude no more. If he wants an extension, it's got to be for $20 million a year max. They got to keep Draymond. And I'm done talking about Poole. Never want to see this dude again. Strong take. Brian Gavin Krug. Have you had Al Madrigal on the show yet? Yes, I did. And I will have him back. Went to high school with the great Al Madrigal. Good guy. Love him. Dennis, the only hope the Warriors have now is Charlotte winning the draft lottery so they can trade Curry for Wemby. You're trading Curry? Wow. 808 Niner. They weren't locked in on D. They were ball watching and late on rotations. The games they won, their D allowed them to get out and run. That's a good point. MF, how did Cameron Latou look today? You know, MF, he just looked okay. I was down at Niner minicamp. I did a whole video on YouTube about my review of minicamp, and you can hear it. And I gave Latou just a kind of He didn't look great. He really didn't. He didn't look bad, but he just didn't stand out. Just kind of in between. Didn't look great. Didn't look bad. Was just out there. Amen report. Can the Warriors front office scout? The Warriors could easily be playing for the lottery next season. I think I read that one before. We got this one from Carl. He says, is this the most Wiseman has ever been talked about on the show? What about Draymond? Does he opt out? Sounds like Draymond's going to stick around and wants to stick around. Hope he sticks around. TK Yang. Larry, do you think when we play Detroit again, will the fans cheer or boo James Wiseman? We ran that one up there before. I think they'll cheer him. I think they will. GTC Reels, been with us since the beginning. He says, via Ryan Hensley, Draymond punched Poole for being disrespectful to Kerr and not listening, and more to it than that as well. I don't know what to make of that. I'm not saying Hensley doesn't know what he's talking about, but I'd like to know more about that. Flav's son, baller is anything but mid. He's passionate, insightful, and just downright a dog. There you go. People loving baller. Brandon Simmons, Larry, I never knew you live in Walnut Creek. Concord, California here. We're neighbors. What's up, Brandon? Good to see you, brother. Stop by. Stop by and say hello. Been here in the creek. MF, the Giants have kept Farhan and Gabe Kapler, and they've done nothing. Why not keep Kerr? Yeah, by that standard. Rockin _ New Era 84. 574 people watching, only 80 likes. Get those likes up. Well, we now have 456 people watching. But if you're in the chat, please hit like and subscribe. In fact, if you've yet to subscribe to the channel, please do. Because we're approaching 18,000 subs. And on a night like tonight, we're probably going to get a bunch. So my son's working hard to drive the popularity of this channel. Obviously, I'm working hard to drive the popularity of the channel. And I appreciate every single one of our subs. So we currently have 17,764. So help us get closer to 18,000. If you've yet to hit like and subscribe, please hit like and subscribe and support the channel. We appreciate you, and we try to put out a lot of good content. That's the goal. Nick J, Bay Area baller. There you go. People loving on baller. Ted Mosby. So what additions for next year would you add? I mean, it's impossible to really say at this juncture who we would add. I do think that, just looking at that mock draft, the Warriors in the mock draft I'm looking at, NBAdraft.net, are going to be picking 19th. and I'm just looking at the board, and I watch a lot of college hoop. I love Jordan Hawkins, the 6'5" 2-guard from UConn. He's a great shooter, very smooth. He's supposedly going to be on the board when they pick. I'd be all over him. Leonard Miller, the 6'10" small forward who played in the G League this year. Crazy talent. Very, very athletic. I'd be very interested in him. Turquavian Smith, the combo guard, is kind of like a Bones Highland. 6'4" combo guard, plays little 1, little 2 from NC State. Really like him. He's projected to go late first round. And then I don't think the Warriors have a second round pick, but the NBA draft, it's a lot of projection, and I haven't done all of my deep dives on every single one of these guys. But just looking at this list, I mean, Jaime Jaquez from UCLA is in round 2. I like him. Amari Bailey, who is Toby Bailey's brother, the 6'5" combo guard for the Bruins. Love him. He's in round 2. And I told you before, Baylor Shireman. In a lot of ways, there's some Klay Thompson there. He's a 6'7" 2-guard who played for Creighton. He's projected to go in the second round. I would love to see. He's a pure shooter. Obviously, they need size, but a guy like that would be nice. Flav's son says Larry and Bay Area Baller are on point tonight. There you go. Thanks, Flav. Jenny Vega, love Frank. We do too, Jenny. Frank's a good man. Tim Cassidy, Baller has that killer look in his eyes. Yes, he did. He did tonight. He got fired up. We all got a little fired up. A Data 84, Larry bringing the ruckus tonight. I got to use that word more, ruckus. Nick J, Damon Bruce. Liked it. 28119850. Just rolls off the tongue. Larry is on YouTube for a reason, not a basketball coach. Good commentator, though. Thank you. Elaine DeSakes. Just $5, just for the heck of it. Nothing. No comment. No nothing. Just Elaine throwing in $5. Thank you. Here we go. Elaine again. If Kerr is subpar, then who's better? Who does this better than him for this organization? I love Cy, but I disagree with Cy on that one. Yo throws in $5. Don't bring up Kerr's record. What was Mike Brown's and Luke Walton's record when Kerr was gone? Mike Brown was undefeated in the playoffs. I think Luke Walton might have been like 32-1 or something, wasn't he? He had some ungodly record. Yo says Kerr mistakes have been hidden by greatness. We got this one from Ramelia Sports Report. Great show, Larry. San Francisco teams lose to LA in the playoffs. I don't like the way that sounds. Yo, not playing Kuminga is a fireable offense. So I think so for sure. Sid Day, 200, looks like $200, but someone said it could be Bitcoin. No, Larry, GP2 was waived off. Then Steph and Dre called Bob and re-signed him. It was on Dre's podcast recorded. Love the pod. Let's go Warriors. Yeah, but they wanted Avery Bradley. I mean, I know that for a fact. Those guys went to Bob and said they wanted Avery Bradley. He ignored them. That was smart. Damian LaRoche. Cyrus is right. Kerr hasn't developed one player. There we go. 95.7 Brian. Kerr already said he isn't moving Klay to the bench, and he just finished off the season with more than 300 threes. Klay is not moving to the bench after one bad series. He needs to shoot fewer threes, though, that's for sure, especially as the season wore down. How many times you can hit the front rim before you move in? Carlo P., I need a Dan trade right now. Let's go with 5 Giants prospects for Mike Trout. Sounds like something Danny would throw out. 808 Niner. Steve Kerr is like a bouncer at the club. You can only get in if you're 27 or older. That is particularly strong. I like that one a lot. No Cap 757. No Cap. Good seeing you. He says, I love Damon and miss you on 95.7. You are a real one. There you go. Carlo P. Haruki will be on NorCal Sports Network. Haruku Atoki will not be on the Krug show. Just don't come at me that hard. You came at me a little too hard, Haruki, and I don't need you. At the end of the day, I don't need you. That's simple. I can't say it any better than that. Flav's son says, Larry don't give a fuck. Love it. It is what it is. Tammy McDaniel. I'd package Klay and Jordan Poole to Milwaukee for Chris Middleton and Brooke Lopez. Ooh, I don't know about that. I don't know if I would make that one. Los D, I've never heard so many fuck yous, fuck offs on this show. Loving it, actually. Let the anger out. Oh, this off season. We did kind of let it fly a little bit tonight. What can we say? It's an organic show. Zach, Nuggets will make quick work of the Lakers. I agree. Lakers are going down. And it's not bitter grapes. It's just the way it is. Strikeout says, like and subscribe, everybody. Yeah, please do. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. We've got this one from Val Ramos. The Plus show is 100. There we go. Little shout out for Damon's channel. Brother Rob, RLB 2ESQ. 650 people, 615 people watching this. Pound that like button. Well, it's no longer 615. We're now at 442. But what can I say? It's 1:06 in the morning. LAL says, Larry is the shit. If you had left out I wouldn't have read it. AK says, Poole and Klay for Jaylen Brown. I don't think that works on the cap. Don't think that one works on the cap. Eric L. Cy is on fire. It was like that video game. You're on fire, on fire. Brother Bob, Larry, this is great. Yeah, it was a hell of a show. This was a hell of a playoff run for the channel. Let's be honest. Dusty Gold, this is an effing great show, Larry. Thank you, Dusty. Appreciate you, brother. A Data 84. Cy thinks Bill Walsh was an underachiever. It's fair, man. That's fair. Ashley Keating, so we should just lower our expectations? That sucks. LOL, don't like that thought process. Val Ramos, show is on fire. Is that a good on fire? Is that a bad on fire? Lee Hammer, I'm a huge fan of Larry's platforms. Thank you, Lee. I know that's not the real Lee Hammer. Kyle McKiernan, holy shit, Larry. You just got a fucking Bitcoin. Buy a Benz. Really? Am I rolling? Am I rolling fat and I don't even know it? All right. Couple more here. GTC Real says Jake Moody will be money. It is his nickname. Tom Pierce, who's been with us really since the beginning, says Damon versus Cy or Dan versus Cy, which is more volatile? Ooh. That's a good one. I'm not sure. Or JD. Don't forget JD versus Cy. I think JD versus Cy was pretty good. Danny versus Cy is the original, though. Pineapple Pizza says it was pesos, not Bitcoin. Terradome in the house. What's up, Terradome? He says Larry is in fuego. In fuego. Smitty, Larry, why did it take Warriors fans so long to realize that the Lakers were the better team? Because we're in denial. And the Lakers were crap at the beginning of the year, let's be honest. Lakers weren't even good till the trade deadline. The Car Gods, Larry, you have to admit that Cy has standards for his subscribers. No bueno. Imagine my company employees profile the customer. Employees profile the customers. Larry, you have to admit that Cy has standards for his subscribers. No bueno. Imagine my company employees profile the customers. I guess I'm not smart enough, or maybe I can't figure out what that even means. MF, why does Dave Fleming hype up the Giants so much? Money. He gets paid by the Giants, and thus he pumps them up. We read that one. Car Gods. Okay, I read that one. Jonathan, Cyrus thinks MJ should have won 8 championships. Pineapple Pizza says, where was JD? JD sent me a note saying that he was having computer issues. He says, I'm going to pack up and go to the hotel, and I can join you if you're still rolling. Having some technical issues, laptop overheating. I'll say, are you still up, brother? Let's see what he says. MF, Greg Papa looked good on the live stream on KMBR today. There you go. You got to ask him, is he dyeing that hair? G2 the Universe, JD versus Psy was premeditated. LOL. The car god says $1 billion pesos is a lot of money. I don't think it was $1 billion. Mark Graves says that super chat was worth $2.43. Oh man, I was getting fired up for $200. It's $2.43. That can't be right. MF, another Giant question. Why doesn't the Big Kahuna travel with the Giants? Giants announcers are getting a little long in the tooth. Maybe has something to do with health. I'm not sure. He's definitely earned the right to do what he wants to do. That's for sure. Eric L says, where was Ryan tonight? Ryan is battling, trying to, get through his rehab, dealing with some substance. So I just told him, I said, hey man, we're here and, you can join us any night you want. And we'd love to have you any night and every night that you want to be here. But I don't send him invites every night because I don't want to pressure him, because I just don't want him to fall off the wagon or have any pressure. I just don't want to pressure him in any way. So he will come back when he wants to come back and when he's comfortable coming back. And he's got an open invite and he knows that. And I've expressed that to him. I know sometimes after some of the losses, he takes them hard, but I think we'll see Rye do some more stuff with us after when we go back to baseball here in the next few weeks. So I can't guarantee it, but he's invited. Joey Nichols, Larry, did you make a video yet on which rookies you thought looked best at minicamp? I did. I absolutely did. It's up right now. And check it out. And I'll just give you a hint. I really loved the offensive lineman from Hawaii. His name's Ilm Manning. Looked terrific at practice today. And I really like Spencer Wagee, the defensive lineman from North Dakota State, who had a 1.66 10-yard split. You should have seen him at practice today. This guy's 300 pounds, and he's moving around like a quick defensive end. I'm telling you, that guy is the real freaking deal. And go watch the interview I did with him from his farm in South Dakota. I mean, he's a salt of the earth human being, and he's got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of talent. MF says, wish Ryan well. Absolutely. Jenny Vegas is 100% love for Rye. GTC Real says Ryan has substance issues. Yeah, GTC Real, he brought it up on our stream a few weeks ago. I'm not speaking out of turn here. It's not like I'm outing him. He's expressed this publicly in one of our previous live streams. So we're just trying to support him, right? He's our friend, and we're just trying to support him and do right by him. And I just told him, hey, you've been a part of this channel for a year plus, and you can have absolutely, come to anything you want to come to. And you're always welcome here. The audience cares about you. And so he's just taking it on his own pace and his own timeline. And that's really all I can tell you guys. I'm not withholding anything on that. Jonathan says, Larry, can we have a trash John Fisher show? If anybody cared. I mean, if we really cared about John Fisher, I guess we could do that. We got this one from Carlo P. Larry, your 49er content will make the Warriors offseason much easier to stomach. Yeah, we do a lot of Niner content. In fact, I went to minicamp today in Santa Clara. Did some interviews with some of the players. We're not really getting open locker room interviews yet. We will this summer. But, yeah, I went through. I watched the entire practice. I did a whole whole video, about 20 minutes long, on my YouTube channel that you can look at under videos and just look at my review. And I went through. There were some second-year players that look good. There were some players that you would expect to look good. There were some disappointing players, and there were some overwhelmingly positive players. So a lot to evaluate today at Niner Minicamp, and we were down there for it. That's why I'm a little, you can tell I'm a little red. See that? See that red forehead? Anyway, I've got pretty much, let me see this one here. Car God says, Larry, you have to admit, though, Cy has standards for his subscriber. Oh, I read that. I thought it was at the bottom here. MF says Wilkes will be coaching from the booth. Yep. I talked to him today. He says he's going to coach from the booth, not from the sidelines. We got this one. Eddie says, Larry, I know your brother's a Kings fan, but do you think he's sad tonight with the Dubs? No, he doesn't. He's disconnected to his Dub fandom. He's all in on Natomas. He's all in on his Kings. GTC says, I care. Bringing Damon on for some A's trashing and bring Dave Cavill into it. The lying bastard. Yeah. Somebody says sunscreen. Yeah, I know. Sunscreen. Got to use sunscreen. Damn it. All right. Let me do this. Let me thank our sponsors. Pig and a Pickle is our title sponsor. Check them out in San Mateo, in Corte Madera or in Emeryville. They're open 7 days a week in Marin County, and they're open Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in the Bay Area. Also, we need to thank our sponsor here. We got a brand new sponsor that we need to thank, and this is our new sponsor for the Krueger Show. It's the Game Time app, where you can buy or sell tickets to any game or musical event. All you got to do is click the links in the description below that's attached to this, and you can get tickets. And of course, if you do this will benefit our show. So once again, check out the Game Time app if you're looking to buy tickets, sell tickets, buy tickets to sporting events, buy tickets to musical concerts. Use the Game Time app, and you can click on the link below, and that helps the channel. So thank you for doing that. And of course, thanks to our title sponsor, Pig and a Pickle. They are in Corte Madera. They're in Emeryville. Their spot in Marin looks like this. We'll be back in a minute.
With a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage, also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
All right, coming down the home stretch on the Krug Show, and thanks to all of you, man. We've been going long after some of these games. We went 4 hours the other night. This live stream, we're now at 3 hours and coming up on 15 minutes, and there's still 332 people in the room at 1:21 in the morning. I just want to say to all of you, thank you very much for supporting the Krug Show. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. It helps the channel. If you want a t-shirt, we have Krug Show t-shirts. They're available for $25. Just DM me and I'll send you one. And then we've had people contact me in the last couple of weeks asking about our sponsors and how did you get your sponsors and how long are they signed up for and how do you be a sponsor if you want to be a sponsor. We really have limits to how many sponsors we can have because I don't want to have a whole show full of commercials. But if you would like to sponsor the show, just DM me. Tell me what your product is, what your business is. We give all of our sponsors what's the word? We don't double up. So like if we have one, so you get an exclusive. So if you're a realtor, we're only gonna have one realtor. If you are a restaurant, we're only gonna have one restaurant. If you're a lawyer, we're only going to have one lawyer. We're only going to have one doctor, that kind of thing. So we do offer exclusives within the category. But if anybody would like to be a sponsor of the show, just DM me. Or if anybody would like a t-shirt, a Krug Show t-shirt, the $25 plus shipping, just DM me and I'll give you my Venmo and you can Venmo me. I've been sending out 3-4 shirts every day for like the last couple months, and I have about 300 shirts that I ordered. So I still got a bunch and they're in size large, XL, double XL. And Vicky, I just got the triple XLs today from Tony Casera and the good people at Casera's in Dublin. So I know you ordered a triple XL, I think for your husband or boyfriend. So we will, I'll have that out to you. I'll have that out to you this weekend. So absolutely. It will be in the mail as of tomorrow. I wanted to get it in the mail in the last couple of days, but I couldn't get it down to Dublin, Pleasanton area, which is where Casera's is located. MF says, "Is Vish coming on soon?" Yeah. Oh yeah. Me and Vish. We've been trying to do 2 shows a week. We've gotten our days kind of screwed up, but yeah, he'll be on. He was just on the other day, but we're gonna have starting this week. We'll have Vish on Tuesday, Thursday, like normal. But yeah, we've had a lot of, he's been busy. I've been busy, but yeah, he goes on my channel once a week. I go on his channel once a week, and we will definitely be rekindling that, later on. We've got one I put in here from, let's see, where's the one here? Oh, this one. Hi there, says Larry. Grant was mocking your man Fisher today. Well, what happened was Fisher took himself out of practice and we were told it was heat related. And it was like 70 degrees. It was sunny, but I mean, 70 degrees in Northern California. I mean, that I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I don't know where he's been training. Maybe it's been cold where he's been training, but, it's going to be a whole lot hotter. I mean, I would say training camp is going to be 90 to 95 degrees every single day. And it was 74 degrees on the field today. And he could not finish practice because he had heat related issues, and they were dabbing him up with a damp towel. And so it was probably just he got dehydrated. And it's probably nothing. He'll adjust. Come on, 74 degrees. You're not going to be able to hang in 74 degrees. You're going to have a rough time in training camp. I mean, training camp's going to be ugly if you can't hang in 74 degrees. So, Grant just busting balls because he likes to do that. But I have high hopes for Fisher that he's going to make this team. And I think there's a chance he might be a really nice player. So, and I thought he looked good, by the way, before he sat out the last third of practice. I thought he looked pretty good. He's got kind of shorter arms. So I don't know if he's a right tackle. He's probably a guard. Maybe he might be a center, but he's an NFL player. I mean, that part is, you can tell. I mean, he's well put together. He's really strong. He's got great agility. But yeah, go look at Ilm Manning from Hawaii. That's the offensive lineman, in addition to Fisher, that I thought really, really stood out today. We'll see what they say about it in the weeks ahead, but that was the guy who stood out to me. Carsard says, Larry, was tonight the final night for a while that we get Frank Cy Baller on the show? Well, no. I'll definitely bring those guys back. Now, I don't know how much they want to talk Giants, so we'll probably work them in. Maybe we'll do some streams during the finals, do a couple basketball streams during the finals. I'll definitely be bringing all those guys back during our lead up to the NBA draft in June. But I probably will pivot to some more Giants post games now that the Warriors are out, and I'll probably wind up doing a lot more Niners stuff throughout the mini camps, OTAs leading into training camp. But yeah, these guys are my friends. So, my show and my channel is all about having my friends on. So Damon and I are going to do a home and home back and forth throughout the week, once on his channel, once on mine. We're trying to do that on a regular basis. And we'll definitely have the other guys on as well. And all of them, they're all great. And I would definitely follow all their channels and all of them on Twitter. As you can tell, I mean, there's a lot of good, we brought a lot of good content out, and a very small percentage of it was me. Let's be honest. It was a lot about JD and Cy and Frank and Red and Baller and Danny and, them giving their opinions. And that's why I love having this show. I can book who I want, when I want, and talk as long as I want or as short as I want all the time. So what can I say? G2, the universe. This show is always fire. Car God says, Larry, Joey Fisher can't handle the heat. Today he couldn't handle the heat, that's for sure. Ashley. Hello, Ashley. She says, I've been really looking forward to these as a good distraction from the personal stuff. Sad the Warriors playoffs is over. Appreciate the content, Larry. I appreciate you guys, Ashley. I appreciate everybody in here. The Car God says, Larry, call JD. I did, but JD, it's 1:20 in the morning. So JD's been working hard, and if JD can't make it, that means he's got other things going on. And let's be honest, it's 1:30 in the morning. Jenny Vega says, love it. Tom Pierce says, fantasy football content, please. Tons of fantasy fans out there. Oh yeah, we'll do a bunch of fantasy stuff. I'm thinking about doing like a weekly fantasy show, maybe like Wednesday nights in football season. Do like a little fantasy. I've got 5 wide receivers and I can only play 3. I've got these 2 running backs and these 2 wide receivers and I can play 4. Whatever. I can only play one of these 3 quarterbacks. I'm thinking about doing that, like maybe a Wednesday night. Because Thursday is the first game of the week, so maybe a Wednesday night fantasy show. What do you guys think of that? That would be kind of cool. Carlo P says, JD, after the credits, bonus coverage coming? No, not tonight. Not tonight. Jonathan says, JD's back on the air tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's right. Carlos says, you got to have Danny for fantasy football. Tom Pierce says, Sunday morning? Oh, yeah. By the way, tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., I am going to be doing, I think, a live stream tomorrow morning with the great Jack Hammer. It's not official yet, but I think Jack Hammer, I talked to him today at minicamp, and he's going to stop by if the time works out. I got to see if it's going to work out. But me and Jack are trying to do a little Niner, minicamp roundup, rookie minicamp roundup, and just talk a little bit about what we saw on the field today. And if we don't do it tomorrow morning, we'll do it tomorrow afternoon, or definitely in the next, let's say, 24 to 48 hours. We got this one from the Car Gods. Larry, what's your take on Kyle saying in San Jose, Brock's the starter? He went undefeated. I mean, if he's not the starter, here's the one thing. You coaches make the call, but the players are going to revolt if you didn't go to Brock. I mean, I'm not now. If Trey looks great this summer, then things change. But Brock Purdy won every regular season game and 2 playoff games, and the Niners averaged 33 a game. If Shanahan parked anybody else in that starting job, and Purdy standing there healthy, there's a bunch of football players going, Kyle, what the fuck? There's going to be a lot of football players sitting there going, what are you doing? What are you doing? So yes, he's the coach and he can do what he wants, but not really. You can lose the room if the players know that player A is their best opportunity to win and you're out there with player B. But if Trey plays great, or if Darnold balls out and these guys really play well, that could change. That could change. Isn't that amazing? But that is actually the way it is. It's an ultimate merit-based situation. 3 last ones here. The Car God said, it's so obvious Brock is the starter, but not everyone sees this. I don't know why. I think just people are concerned about his size, his arm strength, or relative arm strength, and they see Trey and they see his gifts, and they're like, look at Mahomes, and they're worried about, is Brock high end enough, or is he going to be just, there's a lot of Niner fans that are worried about, Brock's high end potential. But all I would say is, when you start critiquing wins, that's when you've kind of gone too far. It's hard to win in the NFL. And this whole, he didn't face any tough defenses. That's a bunch of bullshit. I mean, that is a bunch of bullshit. You don't think Washington has a good defense? You don't think Tampa had a good defense? Tampa had the highest rated defense of almost anybody they played last year. So, I mean, he faced Tampa. He faced Miami. He faced Seattle in Seattle. He faced the Commanders. He beat Dallas. I mean, come on. What are we talking about? At the end of the day, what are we talking about? 8089er, Larry, you guys were crying about the Warriors sucking back in the day. At least you guys won a chip. Try being a University of Hawaii football fan. All we know is mediocrity. Our highlight is getting killed by Georgia. Oh man. Oh, I hear you. That's kind of the way it is. It's like, we all lose our perspective. We all lose our perspective from time to time. One last super chat. Green glass full. I wasn't getting out of here without this one. He says, Brock is great. Ethno-narcs or not? I don't know about that. I don't know. Let's not get into anything like that. I gotta think it has nothing to do with anything but his play. If you tell me it's about anything beyond that, I don't know. And I don't even want to debate that. I hope that's not the case. That's not how I see the quarterbacks. I hope that's not how Niner fans see the quarterbacks. I don't care what you look like, what you throw like, who you are, where you're from. Just can you play? All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to all of you. And 323 people still in the room. 3.5 hours into this live stream at 1:34 in the morning. And for that, I just want to clap it up. Because you know what? That's an incredible amount of support. Decaf. Larry, wrap it up. I need to sleep. Yeah. On that note, it's time for us to bolt for the door. We'll see you tomorrow on the Krug Show. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you won't get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah.